Good evening, fellow heretics. Welcome to another episode of Nerds and Heresy. I'm your host, Captain Tadpole, along with my co-host, Crimson Barrel. And our special guest tonight is Mr. Dave Warlock. I'm very excited to have a conversation with him. I have a funny story. I'd heard, it might have been 2 years ago now. I was listening to a random podcast. I can't remember what it was. And it was you, Dave. And Dave told his entire story, like in great detail. And I absolutely loved the story. And I found out about dying out loud, and I looked into it a little bit. And then fairly recently, Shannon introduced me to you. And she was like, "Hey, do you know who Dave Warlock is?" I was like, "That name sounds really familiar." And she's like, dying out loud. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I know exactly." She's like, "He wants to meet you." I was like, "What?" So that was like the guy who I listened to like 2 years ago on a podcast. And now here you are on our show. So life is funny like that. So Dave, we're going to give you the floor for the first 10 or 15 minutes. Tell us whatever it is you want us to know about you, and plug your site and tell everybody about all the awesome things you're doing.
Thank you, Captain Tadpole. As Captain said, I've only recently gotten connected with him and now with Crimson Barrel because I'm new to the world of TikTok, and that's where these guys reign. I've been fairly active in the atheist community for the last couple of years, and the reason is that I was an evangelical Christian and pastor for about 37 years, and that came to an end about 10 years ago when I came to the conclusion that God wasn't real and that I believed a lie all those years. And that was a long process. You know, some people say, would you wake up one morning mad at God? No, it was death by 1,000 cuts. And as it is with most people I've met in this ex-Christian world, it's just an accumulation of things that just don't add up. And you come to the end of your ability to believe that the God that you thought was real is not real. And so that all happened to me around 2009, 2010. And 2011, by the end of 2011, I was pretty much done with Christianity and identified as an atheist, although I used the small a word for a while, agnostic, because that's a lot more palatable to most people. Most people, when you say atheist, they think you want to harvest their organs or something, and you're going to grow horns and eat babies. And so I was a little reluctant to use that word. I didn't get involved in activism. I was working in the insurance business, and I just moved on with my life after Christianity. My long-term marriage ended because my ex-wife remained a believer, and I found it problematic to continue to remain married to an evangelical, which I believe to be harmful and did damage to people, and so I had to get away from that. And then, but I just was living my life. I got connected with a lot of ex-Christians in the Nashville, Tennessee area where I was from, and just was enjoying life and connected with a lot of people through the Clergy Project. That was my first foray into the ex-Christian world, because when I came to the end of my faith, there weren't a lot of shows out there. There weren't a lot of resources where I could plug in and get connected with people. So I was very much alone, very much disoriented, very much traumatized. And so the Clergy Project, Dan Barker and some other people, I got to know them. And so I began to find my way into the secular community. And it was life for me because I felt very alone, and I felt like, you know, I don't know who I was. I didn't know what kind of world I was living in apart from the evangelical Christian world I lived in since I was 18 years old when I got saved in the Jesus movement all those years ago. So that was my world until the beginning of 2019, when I got diagnosed with ALS. Started having symptoms in 2018 and realized there was something wrong. And then I went to the doctor and got referred to neurologists and things like that, and came to that final diagnosis on February 26th of 2019 that I have ALS. And if you don't know what that is, it's a Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a terminal illness. They give you 3 to 5 years to live. It's a muscular disease where your muscles quit working. Mine has been in my hands and arms. I'm losing strength in my arms. I'll lose the ability to use my arms at some point in the near future, possibly this year, possibly next year. So I am living a little longer than I thought I might. When I first got the diagnosis, I moved out of my apartment, moved in with friends, and retired from the work I was doing. I started selling stuff and giving stuff away. I planned to just travel until I wasn't living a quality of life I was happy with anymore. And then I figured I would just go parasailing or something and, forget to open the chute. But I found out that I have a slow progressing form of ALS. And so there was one comment I did the Atheist Experience. I've done that show a few times. And there was one comment on there that said, hasn't this guy been dying out loud for 10 years or something? What the fuck's he still alive for? What's going on here? But yeah, I've got a slow progressing form, which I'm grateful for. And so after that diagnosis, though, a friend of mine started asking me, Marie, who became my manager in my Dying Out Loud campaign, or whatever we want to call it, just said, what do you want to do? And so she started booking me on podcasts. And I said, I want to talk about living and dying and things that are important about life and death. And so I started the Dying Out Loud project, and it just kind of took off. And I started getting booked on podcasts. Like Dadpool said he heard me on a podcast. I don't know which. I've done so many of them over the last couple of years. I've been on a lot of YouTube shows. I started traveling around and speaking at secular communities, really all over the country, and we were booked all over the world until COVID shut everything down last year. But I found that there was an audience and a hunger in people to talk about life and death from the standpoint of an atheist, and also someone who used to be a believer, someone who used to be a Christian, where in that world, your view of life and death was 180 degrees from what it is now, whereas the life we live now is just a warm-up for the eternal life that's to come. And when you come to the place where you realize this life is all we have, and then you get, and I had that idea, understanding about life long before I got diagnosed with ALS. But when I got diagnosed with ALS and realized that this only life that we know we have is coming to a quicker end than I thought it was, the shit got real, and it got really serious for me wanting to talk about and do the things that mattered. Essentially, initially I was wanting to just travel and just see the world as much as I could. But then I started saying, you know what, I want to do more than just that. I want to travel still, but I want to connect with people in meaningful ways and do stuff that makes a difference. And I really started, what really transformed me in the last couple of years was the people that I started hearing from, literally all over the world, who were gaining some kind of inspiration and comfort and meaning in the things I was talking about. And I never expected that. And so that has given me more satisfaction and meaning in the last couple of years than I can say probably I ever had in my life. Even as a pastor, as a minister, I always thought I was doing things that helped people. But when I came to the place where I saw that wasn't real, I thought maybe I did more harm than good in talking to people about things that were not true, and helping people believe things that are not true. And so now, in dealing with reality, I've heard from people who were suicidal, who were dealing with depression, who were dealing with terminal illnesses. And it's just been incredible to think that this fucking disease I got is somehow, I've been able to turn it around and find some good in it and do some good with it. And that doesn't make any sense. It's, it just testifies to the fact that life is random and chaotic, and there is no rhyme or reason to it. Spoiler alert, there is no God that has a wonderful plan for your life. If you may have heard that, but it's not true. So I'm just doing that. Like I said, the travel got shut down last year, so I'm doing as many of these kind of shows as I can. I've been on the Atheist Experience a few times, and I'm on the schedule on the regular rotation there, which I think is every couple of months or something. I've been on a lot of neat shows with a lot of neat people, and have gotten to know and call friends some really cool people in this community, and I'm just really grateful for that. But other than that, I'm working really hard on my book. I'm writing a book about my life, and it's going to be a good one. I'm really happy about how it's coming, and so you guys, I think it'll be probably ready for publication in the fall. So anyway, that's kind of me. I've left out any parts I've left out we can cover in the conversation, but that's a little snapshot there.
Need help proofreading that book?
I'd
read that. Huh?
Are you a proofreader? Editor?
Yeah. I helped a friend of mine proofread her book.
Yeah.
I had on my table. Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, we'll need some help with that. Definitely. I definitely want to proofread and etiquette and all those things.
I'd offer to help, but I don't know how to read.
I heard that about you, Dad.
I mean, I just want to read it, so if I get it advanced, I'll feel special. But yeah, no, I helped proofread a book for my friend recently, and so she sent me the author's copy. So I'm like, "Can you get me another author's copy signed? Let's do it."
Yeah, so
I'm messing with you.
So I know, Dadpool, I know you were a former Christian. Were you also, Crimson, were you a former Christian theology person?
Well, so theology, yes. Mythology especially. I grew up kind of sort of like Baptist Lutheran, except not really. And then when my parents split up, my mom married a Mormon because she's gullible. And so my brothers might be watching. Don't tell Mom I said that.
I want to see if you guys can tell me what the title of my book and what the reference is. Ready?
Uh-oh.
Let's hear it.
Who's going to get it first? This is the contest. Who's going to get it first? So the title is going to be "But When I Became a Man." What's it reference? Quick, go.
Oh shit! That
sounds like a bat mitzvah, or a bar mitzvah.
Come on, Dad. Come on.
Oh, I know this. I know this. I do.
But when
You're ruining the facade that we know everything.
Okay, here's the cadence. When I was a but when I became a man, I
when I was a young boy.
No.
Bob took me into the city. Yeah, I got nothing.
When I was a child. Come on. When I was a child,
I did childish things, or
when I was a child, I thought like a child. I spoke like a child.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I did childish things. Now I'm an adult.
Childish things.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I don't actually have the Bible memorized. I mostly have the bad parts memorized.
Well,
which, to be fair, is like 90% of the Bible.
There you go. Don't cuss. Start to 1 Corinthians something. It's referencing. But the point is, when I became a man, I put away childish things. It took me 50-something years to become a man and put away childish Christianity.
Yes. It's interesting, Dave. At one point we were talking, you said like you felt like all these years you'd actually been doing more harm than good, and so now you're trying to like right those wrongs, so to speak. It's very similar to like the way I feel like I'm repenting of my sins by spreading this message because I've been spreading such false information for so many years, and I wasn't even a pastor like you were. But yeah, it's an interesting to hear someone say that they had that same feeling.
And it's kind of easy to beat yourself up about that, and I've really learned not to do that and not to live with regret, because the reality is we're all just doing the best we can. And I came upon this quote by Maya Angelou that I love, and it says simply, "Do the best you can until you know better, and then when you know better, do better." So that's the best way to live. And this is me doing better. This is me coming to the place where I've learned what I think is better, and now I'm going to try to do better. And I don't look back and think, oh my God, how could I have been so stupid? I have those moments because I was in it for so long. And I look back now and think, how could I believe that? How could I read that and not think how like we were doing the Bible verses last night, you know, how did we not go, what?
Yep.
and just blow our minds up. But the indoctrination is strong.
Well, so I know, Ricky, because you said you weren't a pastor, but you did like go out into the streets and preach to people, though, right?
Yeah, I literally did street evangelism, like walked up to strangers and told them the gospel. Like I did lead people to Christ on the streets fairly regularly. Spent a lot of my Saturday mornings doing that.
Did you use the banana like Ray Comfort, or did you?
I never. I did do the Way of the Master, like that whole like script. I had Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron's autograph in the back of my Bible.
Oh, Jesus!
Don't say you never did the banana thing, because I've got screenshots of you doing the banana thing.
Oh no, I've talked about the banana thing, but I never, like, when I was a Christian, I never was like, behold the atheist nightmare.
But did you, since the theme of tonight is evangelism, did you you tried to trick them, saying, "Have you ever told a lie? What does that make you? Where do liars go?" Oh my God!
I did exactly that.
Oh my God!
Isn't it weird, like where we are now, and then going on TikTok, and then seeing all these Christians, and you're just, it's the cringiest thing, because you're like, I used to be like that. That used to be me. Like Dave, one of your earlier TikToks, it had me chuckling. You were like, you stitched somebody, and you were like, wow, TikTok is crawling with you guys. And I was like, yes.
It's so true. It's like they're 25-year-olds and they think they know all this, and they're so earnest and so enthusiastic, and they just really get in there. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that was me 40 years ago. Guys, shut up. You're going to look back on this and go, oh my God.
And then you click on the profile and you find out they have like 800,000 followers.
Yeah, I know. It's blown
like they're saying the most inaccurate shit you can imagine. But because they're halfway crying when they say it, they get a lot of followers for some reason.
Oh yeah,
They don't handle the criticism very well either.
No,
that's literally not what that passage says.
Yeah, I love the dude with the blue hair who debates himself, but he won't debate anyone in real life.
Andy, he blocked me a while ago.
Game on Andy.
God. This guy,
we talked about him before on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my God. He made a thing recently where I was like, oh my God, you were smart, Andy. Stay being smart. Stop being stupid. And it was about little lost ex's shoes, because every Christian and their grandmother's freaking the fuck out about it, and it's just a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
The whole. Huh?
So I saw that TikTok that you made, Crimson, but I couldn't, because he had me blocked. I couldn't go. When you were like, you were actually smart, I was like, wait, he was? Let me see, but I can't, because it fucking blocked me. So I had no idea what.
All he was saying was that, like, people shouldn't care about the shoes because they're just a pair of shoes, and he's not even a Satanist. He's not a devil worshiper. He's doing it. Well, I mean, to an extent, he's doing it for publicity, for the views, because there's no such thing as bad publicity. But he's also doing it because he was mistreated by the church. So it's like, it's a little reductive to say that it's just a marketing tactic, because there is a specific religious reason why he's doing that. But, you know, for the most part, other than like that sort of reductionism, he was right. And I'm like, that was a smart thing that you just said. Now stop debating yourself, because those videos are ridiculous.
Oh my God.
And I think what I specifically said was, you know, it's real easy to knock down your little straw man, but if you had to actually speak to a real human being, it would not go down that easily.
Yeah.
And he's got like 120 some odd thousand people. And I'm like,
what kills me
is that Christ is a shepherd and you're all sheep. Gullible.
I'm blown away by TJ the Guider. He's got, I think he's got more followers than I do, and he says just some of the stupidest, like even from a Christian standard. Like he says the most batshit crazy things. I'm like, what? How are you so popular?
Well, anyway. There's a lot of them out there. I mean, obviously, you know, although they are decreasing. I saw an article this week that said that for the first time, church is below 50% of the country.
Yeah, I made a video on that.
And shrinking fast. So
that ties back to Muslims trying to claim that they are the fastest growing religion, and the reason is because Christianity is diminishing. And so it's like there's like, I'd have to look into the numbers more, but if you're having more children, that explains the you're having more people deconverting than anyone converting. You're just having more children, so there's a population boom, and with that come the numbers that you're talking about. But you're not convincing people to switch to Islam. You are just producing more people.
Yeah,
and we have so many countries where it's illegal, punishable by death, even for leaving that religion. Like, how many closet atheists are in those countries that we don't know about? Like, they wouldn't be counted in those numbers if they had a voice, but they don't.
well,
Yep.
you know, recovering from religion is dealing with some of these places and starting to get some people reaching out to them, but they're very, very much undercover. They've got to be so super.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more of that going on than people are aware of. But they can't. I mean, they could be killed for coming out as atheists. I mean, we have it bad here. You can be ostracized in your neighborhood or your family, or lose jobs or whatever. But you know, nobody's going to kill you yet for being an atheist. But apparently, we're killing people for being Christians because they're the most persecuted people in this country. To hear them tell it.
The number one threat of terrorism in America is domestic terrorism, and the most likely individuals to be domestic terrorists are Christian white males.
Christian nationalists. Yep.
White nationalists. However, Timothy McVeigh was Catholic. He committed the worst act of domestic terrorism on American soil ever. Hasn't been topped yet. Please stop. Please don't try to top Timothy McVeigh. That was a terrible thing I just said. Anyway, no. But so it's like they are the persecutors. They're by no means in any way, shape, or form persecuted in America. People disagree with them, and they're like, "This is what oppression is."
Well, I'm reading a book right now about the rise of Christian nationalism and what's going on. You know, their goal is they've long since departed from trying to behave like Jesus. They don't have I mean, electing Trump is evidence, all the evidence you need. When 81% of evangelicals support a man like Donald Trump, you know they're not looking for Christ-likeness. There's not a single one of the Beatitudes that he exemplifies. I mean, he's the most morally repugnant political candidate this country has seen in my lifetime, bar none. And yet the evangelicals lap him up. And the reason is because he would propel them toward white Christian nationalism. They want this to be a Christian nation. They want this all the laws to be. They want the Bibles in the schools. They want prayer everywhere. They want abortion outlawed. They want gay marriage outlawed. They want everything that fits their agenda, and that's what they believe Trump will bring them. And he was delivering. He was stacking the forts. He was doing the stuff they wanted, and they didn't care how many.
But when did they start trying to act like Jesus? Because I don't remember that part.
Well, back in the day, there were churches and pastors that really cared about being moral and being upright. But back in
I'm mostly poking fun, but those people are few and far between, and I call those people the true Christians, the ones who actually give a shit about their fellow man and aren't just trying to force everyone to live the way they live. But that's a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of Christians. The majority of them, you think back to we have so many examples in American history alone that fighting LGBTQ rights. And then prior to that, all of the arguments that they make against gay marriage and trans rights are arguments that they made against civil rights in the 1960s. To a T even. Yeah. Where it's Loving v. Virginia in 1968, interracial marriage, anti-miscegenation laws. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but it's an affront to God. It's it's the same shit. They just rebranded every couple of years. They're moving back with society slowly, but they're like, we're shackled to these motherfuckers. We can only go as fast as them. yeah, and so I'm just like, at that, to me, because that's, and I bring it up all the time, that Christ himself never said a word about homosexuality. He condemned tax collectors to hell, never said a single word about homosexuals. And then, yeah, all the biblical reasonings that they gave for like being racists don't really hold up if you look at them for longer than 10 seconds. Because that all ties to like the mark of Cain and the curse of Ham. So that's just, sorry, I got off on a tangent there. Sorry.
Well,
But,
Trump his slogan could have been "Make America White Again," and he would have had just as much support.
I think people took that as what that meant.
They heard.
Like,
That was the subtle implication there.
It's a dog whistle. Like, what's funny about the Republican Party is
sorry. What?
No, you're good. I love how the Republican Party is we're getting political. Fuck it, let's do it. They're they pull yourself up by your bootstraps party. You know, they're you want this, you got to work hard for it. But like they hated Obama. Obama was a pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like he was raised by his grandma. He grew up poor. He did so well. He put himself into Harvard. He graduated alma mater. And like he is a self-made man. He was a pull yourself up your bootstraps person. But they reject, and he's a family man. Like they're also the party of family values. But he's been married to the same woman his whole life. But so instead, they go for the guy who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, was given shit tons of money and power and connections. Like he also inherited his father's like connections, and he had several wives, cheated on his current wife with a fucking porn star. And, while she was pregnant. So like it's funny how they say one thing like they pull yourself up by your bootstraps, the family values party, but we're gonna go with someone who's not any of those. And this guy over here who is like that, we're gonna shun him. And they did the same thing with Biden. Like Trump's like never been to church. Biden's been a devout Catholic his entire life. So shouldn't they like go for him? But no, because he's not a white nationalist. That's what they really want.
Well, Biddy Buddha in the comments said that Obama was the Antichrist, and I like to bring this up because it cracks me the fuck up. There's so many people who are the Antichrist, and there's all kinds of reasons for it.
I've been called the Antichrist.
Yeah, me too. The son of the devil. But the Antichrist, the actual Antichrist, biblically speaking, the mark of the beast, 666, is the name Nero Caesar, written in Hebrew or Latin, and then translated, like interpreted numerically, which is why there's the difference between 666 and 616. So the belief was that Nero Caesar was going to return from the dead in the same way Jesus did. It's called the Nero Redivivus legend. Nero Caesar was a Roman, so Italian, so white. So first of all, and then secondly, like all of the ways that they describe Nero, kind of a tyrant, kind of a dickbag, a lecher, all those things describe Donald Trump. Like, if ever there were to be an Antichrist in our lifetime, it would be the dude who riled up all the racists in America and kickstarted just a revolution of hate crimes and violence based on race. Like we have not seen in a while.
I've been at this game a long time. I was born again in 1973, and ever since then, and now up until now, I've been hearing every 3 or 4 years there's a new Antichrist. There's a new person that they're targeting as the Antichrist, and it's just like the same every few years. Jesus is coming back. Soon, real soon, like these young guys on TikTok. He's coming back real soon. Guys, I've been hearing that since way before you were born.
Yeah.
Shut up.
88 reasons why Jesus is coming back in 88.
Yeah.
It's getting a little old.
That was
been 2,000 years.
So I just want to mention this book, The Power Worshippers. If you want a good read about the rise of Christian nationalism, where it came from, what the whole Republican agenda is about, how they are in bed with the evangelicals. This lady, Kathleen Catherine. Yeah, she was the one that did a thing on Catherine Stewart on the Good News Bible Club, where the evangelicals were getting these Bible clubs in these elementary schools. She's brilliant, and this book is an eye opener. It's disturbing on many levels, but it's an important thing to understand in terms of what's happening in the country and how the evangelicals are trying to, as I said before, they've long since moved on from being concerned about converting people to the gospel. They want control. They want to be in power, and they want to dominate the culture in America and force everyone to live by Christian standards. And anybody that's not a Christian in their world is not welcome here.
Yeah, they're so worried. I made a video about this recently. Also, when it comes, they always have to have a boogeyman. There has to always be a boogeyman in the closet, a monster under the bed. There's always they're always on the lookout for that. Where do we go with this?
Well, their narrative. I mean, you think about the Christian narrative: God and Satan, good and evil.
Yeah.
There has to be a bad man and a good man. There has to be, like you said, a boogeyman. There has to be someone that we're fighting against. Because if they don't have that, and we're talking about evangelism, the evangelical world, if they don't have that, then that means we have to look inside ourselves, and we have to work as a human, as humanity working together. So if they don't have good versus evil, us versus them, black versus white, then they don't have a battle. And if there's no battle, there's no need for some savior. There's no need for God to do anything. We're just all working out our own salvation.
And they're so afraid of becoming the minority. Like that is what they fear the most, is becoming the minority. Like, why?
Yes.
Why are you so worried about being in the minority? Is it because they're oppressed? They're treated like shit? There are laws created so they can't have the same rights that you do? Why are you so worried about that?
Yeah.
I think it's ironic because, sorry. No, I was just saying, I think it's ironic because in wanting division, they are themselves being the adversary.
Yeah.
From a biblical standpoint, that would make them Satan.
They're constantly a satire of themselves.
Could it be Satan? The church lady. Yeah, that's why now the Christians they love to have this new thing about the Satan shoes. With this video that they just, oh my God, they love having that villain to pour their hatred out toward.
Yeah,
I really think. Sorry, we keep talking at the same time. No, I was just saying. I really think that they are almost giddy when shit like that happens. That they have something to talk about, something to hate, something to attack.
Yeah, I mean, before that video, wasn't it a couple weeks ago, and they were all about Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head?
Yeah. Suddenly, they're not worried about that anymore.
So somebody in one of those videos got real pissed off about Aunt Jemima, and it's like, have you ever Googled Aunt Jemima? You know where that comes from, because that's blackface. That's a black minstrel show character. It's super fucked up. There's a reason that was maybe we should change the name of this, and it took honestly entirely too long.
Yeah. No
so
doubt.
It's whether or not people were offended by it, if anybody Googled it and saw the origins, then they'd be like, oh, that's why this is a problem.
Yeah.
Well, if you've seen any of my, you've heard my podcast or whatever you heard, I don't know what show was. You don't remember what show that was you heard, Dad, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I can't remember. I've tried.
Anyway, I try to make a very careful distinction in what I talk about and the things I speak out against. But I don't broad brush Christianity. I think personally, I think we'd be better off without any religion. I just do. I don't think we need a progressive form. I don't think we need a nicer God. I think we're better off as a species, as humanity, if we're just dealing with things as they are, not as we want them to be, and wishing there was some higher power or some deity. Now, I know a lot of good people who believe there's something else out there besides us. There's some energy, there's some force. I don't know. And I really don't care, because I think the evidence is overwhelming that there's no God anywhere doing anything for anyone. We are on our own. Now, how we got here, I don't give a shit. And when I get on these call-in shows and people start trying to argue for intelligent design and all that stuff, I want to go to sleep. I don't care. I don't care how we got here. We're here. Now, what are we doing here? How are we living here? Is there a God anywhere doing anything for anyone? I don't see any evidence of that. But what I speak out against is evangelicalism, evangelical Christianity, because that's first of all, that's the water I swam in. That's the world I knew. The more progressive strains of Christianity, the Episcopal, the Lutherans, the nice people that want to just get along. I don't have as much a problem with them. Like I said, I think we're better off without any of it. But the evangelicals are the ones who are trying to impose themselves and their ideas on the rest of the world. And that's what I consider dangerous. That's what I've seen the negative effects of. I know countless people who deal with trauma to this day because of things they were raised in, because of family issues. Now, I speak out pretty forcefully against it, and all my family is it. Not all of it. My mom, my sister. I've got an evangelical brother pastor. My two daughters, their husbands are evangelical pastors. I mean, so I know what this costs to speak out like this. And I would tell them, if they were to get on a show with me and do a debate, I would talk to any of them just like I'm talking now. I'm not backing down from this stuff, because I think it's that important. And I've seen the damage that it does. And we have to speak out and raise awareness of what these ideas are doing to people and doing to society. And we've seen just recently how important it is for people to believe things that are true and not to believe things that are false. When you believe things that are not true, you end up storming the Capitol because you think an election's been stolen. So it's not just benign ideas that we can all just, oh, don't worry, they're just believing in some God. It's no big deal. No, it kind of is. And it affects people where they live. That's my rant.
Yeah, it makes me think of Christopher Hitchens said that in regard to Christians, like I don't mind if you play with your toys. Why would I be mad that you're playing with your toys? What I have a problem with is you trying to make me play with your toys too.
Exactly. Don't impose your ideas on me. And like, the evangelicals, there's not a single one that has ever been able to tell me why it matters to you if a dude marries another dude. How does that hurt you? How does that affect you negatively? And I've never had any of them tell me that there's no answer they've given me that's satisfactory.
Except it makes them realize that they're actually secretly struggle with that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, let's get into that, because there was a big TV evangelical pastor a while back that got busted soliciting gay sex in bathrooms.
Oh yeah, this one is terrible.
Yeah,
that was
like
10 fucking years ago.
Ted Haggard. I think you're talking about Ted Haggard.
Ted Haggard.
Yeah,
there were a couple of them, more than a few.
He was busted by his masseur. His masseur.
Masseuse.
His masseur told everybody, this guy's been not only paying me for sex, but doing drugs while he does it.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like they, instead of like excommunicating him from whatever church, like the group that he was a part of had some sort of secret gay conversion therapy camp with him in the woods. And he came back, he's like, I'm not gay anymore.
Yeah,
okay.
He prayed the gay away. What a miracle that was. Hey, I see a chat here. You mentioned this. I don't know what that means, but with that, Natalie says, with that opinion about the past, I don't think Dave will ever find anything I say interesting. I don't know what that means. Do y'all?
No.
Probably. So we get a lot of people who are not only atheists, but pagans, spiritualists, that kind of thing, which I kind of wanted to jump on my soapbox and defend animism. but I'll let it go. My problem with religions are organized religions, because when religions get organized, then they want to affect policy and laws. And I don't think that any nation should be basing their laws or policies on any given religion. The like exception to that, which isn't really an exception, is animism, because that's where, you know, environmentalism to an extent comes from, and that can be taken as self-preservation, because if we're not taking care of the environment, then the effects of what we do to the environment has an effect on us. It's a negative repercussion for it in terms of pollution and certain diseases and whatnot. 8 million tons of plastic alone get dumped in the oceans every year, shit like that. That's when I think you're doing your religion, like you're doing good with your religion if you're advocating for the protection of somebody else or something else, particularly the planet, because that affects everybody. I think.
Sorry.
Oh, I was discussing the past as history because I study the past for a living. Oh, as far as like, okay, well then I went off on the.
Nat's our resident archaeologist and geologist.
Who?
Nat, who made that comment. So she was making a joke there.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have her on the near future too, by the way.
And again, when I say it doesn't matter how we got here, I know that those kind of things are important, and I don't want to discredit people who study that, because that's important information. We have to learn about how the world works. But I try to keep my area of focus in terms of what I talk about to things that I know. I don't get into debating and arguing with apologists and dealing with all the terminology and all that. I'll leave that to people who are more knowledgeable and better at it than me. But what I do is talk about what I see going on now, because I'm more interested in the now. What are we doing now? And where is there a God involved in that? And if you can show me, like when Christians tell me, and I've had several of them recently, but want to talk about a miracle God did. God did this miracle, and they'll explain it to me. And my response to that is not that, no, he didn't. My response is, you better hope he didn't. Because if he did that one thing for you, or this friend you know, or this person you heard of, then he's got to explain to the parents at the children's hospital in Memphis, whose children are born with brain cancer, or without a brain, or without a spine, or whatever, and they're praying and asking God to please save their child, and he doesn't, time after time after time, or the kids who were born in famine-ravaged countries who never have a chance. And you've got to explain why he chose you to do this wonderful miracle for, and bypass all these other people. Because if there's a God doing that in the world today, I want nothing to do with that dickhead.
Yeah, that you get that a lot, where people want to say, "Oh, well, it's because I'm a true believer." Like, there are people in other countries who have never heard of your God and will never hear of your God. Is that their fault? How is that their fault?
Well, God
that ties back to.
They use special reading for that. God has a special way to get to them, and God's going to take care of that, and blah, blah, blah. You know how that goes.
There was the kid 2 years ago who tried to become a missionary, essentially, for a group of people in a tribe in Africa who is completely isolationist, has never interacted with the real world. Well, I shouldn't say the real world, but the modern world is a better way to put that. And they're surviving. I don't know however many dozens people there are over there. They're probably kind of running thin genetically. That is just a scientific issue that they're going to come into eventually. So they're probably not going to be alive much longer as a group. But yeah, he went out there to try to preach the word of God to them, and he died. I have no sympathy for that guy.
No.
Is that the tip of the spear, or?
No, that was a long time ago.
No, I'm talking 2 years ago. This
pretty recent.
Okay, a different one. I wouldn't saw that movie in theater.
They'll call him a martyr for Christ because he laid down his life spreading the gospel.
Yeah, died a hero, that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tip of the Spear was a very Jim Jim and Elizabeth something. They were all famous missionaries.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like they,
oh yeah,
famous
talking about
story.
John Allen Chow.
Oh,
Jim and Elizabeth Elliot. They're missionary saints. Those guys. Yeah, and there's other missionaries that have gone into these indigenous tribes and spread a bunch of disease among them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he like his diary and all this nonsense. So that first off, that's that happened in America when the Europeans first got here. They brought disease to Native Americans. That was great. Thanks for that, Christians. Quakers, even people so fucking uptight with English were like, get the hell out.
Colonialism is what it is. We're trying to impose.
There's no difference.
We're trying to impose our white Christian way of life on the rest of the world. Again, that's the darkest part of evangelism, in my view. Evangelicalism.
Yeah, there's no difference. Missionary work is just it's just a product of colonization. It is itself colonization.
And I've done it. I'm writing my book, and there's two different times when I went to Belize one time to build a school, and that was good work to do for these kids. But we're also spreading our gospel to them. And then I go to Moscow, Russia, to hand out Bibles in the 80s after the fall of the Iron Curtain.
Really? Russia?
Yeah, Moscow, Russia.
You went to Russia to hand out Bibles?
Yes, sir. And
I'm going to need to hear more about that.
Well, read my book. It's
deal.
Why are all of our guests cooler than us?
What?
Yeah, right.
Why are all of our guests cooler than us? We had Jesus on, and he was in Glee and the Community. Not the Community.
Community.
Sorry.
I'm not that cool. But no, I went to hand out Bibles in Moscow in the dead of winter. My God, it was cold. But I was there for Jesus. And then they invited me. I preached in their elementary school, and I preached with an interpreter, and truly believed I was doing this wonderful thing for God. And at the end of it, I asked the kids, how many of them want to go to heaven and not hell? You know how many raised their hands?
All of them.
All of them. Yeah, me.
Yeah, because you only give them two options.
I know. And you paint this wonderful picture of heaven, and you're the authority figure, and you're this American, and you say, repeat after me. And I left there thinking that I'd converted 27 children.
Were you there for the Metallica concert? Sorry.
So I understand that like missionary work is sort of like a product of the Great Commission.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a verse, it's Matthew 6:5, that I feel like is contradictory to the Great Commission. And it's the words of Jesus. And when you pray, you are not to be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and on the street corners so that they will be seen by people. Truly, I say to you, they have their reward in full, meaning that their reward is earthly attention as opposed to, So I just don't understand.
I don't think it's
because it's so contrary to, like, it's one thing to go out and be like, here's the information, do with it what you will. But it's another thing entirely to stand up in a church on television screaming your fucking head off, like, look at me, look at me, look at me. That's just...
Well, it's talking about intention, because what the Pharisees do or did was exactly what the Bible was saying. They would go on the corners in the most populated areas in the city, and they would pray as loud as they could, and to get as much attention. Look how spiritual I am. Look how close to God I am. That's what they were after: recognition from man, not recognition from God. So when Jesus said, "Pray in the closet where nobody can see you, no one can hear you, no one knows how spiritual, religious you are, except you and God." So that's what
that's the problem I have with, and I've made this comment to some of my commenters on TikTok. I don't respond to a lot of them. I've got a rule. I don't know if you guys do this, but that's what you can't respond to all yours, but I don't have that many. But if they don't have any content and they don't have any profile, they're not getting a fucking word from me. And if they keep blabbing on my page, I block them. I'm done with that shit. But anyway,
Yeah, I'm getting there. I really do.
I get these responses like, I'm praying for you. I posted one about my ALS and stuff, and I get these, I'm praying for you. And then I get a lot of, people that come on and defend me and push back at them. And so I don't have to say a lot. But what I do say sometimes is, why do you need to announce that? Why is it important for you to stand up and tell everyone, I'm praying for you? Just go in your goddamn closet, shut your goddamn door, and pray in secret like Jesus told you to.
Because they're not going to.
No, they want to make.
They're not going to pray for you.
They
They're
want
fucking
to.
lying.
I'm a pious Christian. I'm praying for you.
I respond to a lot, but if anybody has username 5 or like user 578974,580, no,
Right.
delete, block, fuck off, get off my page.
Well,
if you don't have the wherewithal to put a fucking name to your face, then you can get.
My point is this: if you don't have, if you feel like you've got something to say on TikTok or anywhere, go to the trouble to make some content. It's a 60-second video. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that kind of energy to put behind what you have to say, don't come blab on my page.
Yeah, for me, it's if your answer or your rebuttal or answer to a question could be so easily dismissed by a simple Google search. I'm not going to fucking respond to you. You've put in no effort whatsoever in figuring out these, because I get responded to multiple times a day. Like people stitch me like, oh, you're wrong because of this, and I'm like, if you did one fucking Google search, you would realize that you're fucking retarded. And sorry, that was the wrong word to use. You're fucking dumb. You made no effort whatsoever. So I'm not going to give you a free education here.
Yeah.
But
I had it.
Good.
I don't respond to them. If they don't have any content, no profile, they're just trolling. And I just, go troll somebody else's page. I don't have time for you.
I had a dude.
Conversation. If you want to have a serious conversation and a real dialogue about something, then we can talk. But if not, just go somewhere else.
I had a dude yesterday was talking to somebody and was like, you should read the KJV because this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, when they pointed out unicorns in the Bible, he's like, I don't remember there being any unicorns in the Bible. I was like, okay, well, you said the King James Version, right? By the way, King James was a flaming homosexual, so I just think it's hilarious that so many Christians honor a gay man with their book because they don't know any better and they don't care to know any better. Unicorns in certain English translations, older English translations, they appear like 8 or 9 times. But we actually said one of the words like 3 or 4 minutes ago. So
3 or 4 minutes ago, we have no idea.
I didn't know we had words. That's fun.
There's like 3 or 4 words that if we say it, like Crimson will know, and if we said it, and then he'll make that sound, and then we'll drink. But we're working on getting one of our significant others to manage that, so none of us know what the word is. Yeah,
it'll be easier for me to keep that too. Ooh, I did not like that one, but that's okay.
What is it?
Drink it. Oh well, we're gonna get into this at the end of the show because we're gonna talk about alcohol and whatnot. But it's one of the cask mates, so it's Glen meringue.
Yeah.
And it's a sherry cask finish. I should have known better because I've only ever really used sherry to cook with, but it's still pretty good. Like I made the whiskey face, but like, it's all right. Drinking out of one of the cups that you could find on Nerds and Heresy merch.store. It's a shut the fuck up.
There's you and a few others who have gotten the merch already, and I ordered mine like day 1. And still haven't gotten mine yet.
Well, at least you're wearing some nice merch from me.
Yeah, so I'm wearing a
day number 3.
Great. Yeah, this is Dave sent me a shirt, Dying Out Loud. You can see the microphone. Dave sent me this shirt, and I was super excited about it because I don't own a lot of shirts.
Let me go back and double check. I think you've worn that every podcast.
A fun story.
I wore it, pretty much. I wore it yesterday because he was on there yesterday too on the Atheist or Tart.
Yeah. And this is one that's also in our store. And this is
I like that.
I didn't see that one.
look, it's my favorite.
Is your face like fading away?
So let me tell you the story of that one. It's pretty fucking cool. In fact, my whole story on the merch is cool.
Let's hear it.
The design that you're wearing, Captain, and the one that Biddy Buddha got. There's a friend of mine who's also got me on. Basically, between her and Bavin, they convinced me to get on TikTok, and it's Casey Latham. She's Queso Blanco on TikTok, and she was saying, you got to get on TikTok and you got to meet Dad Cool. And so, there was that push to get me on, and Bevan had been trying to get me on there, but she designed that shirt and several others that are on our merch store.
Really?
And, yeah. So back when I just started with the Dying Out Loud stuff, and on one of my podcasts, I talked about a thing that had happened we had an ex-Christian atheist meetup group in Nashville. Right after I got my diagnosis, we had this meeting, and one of the ladies was talking about her week and how she was grumpy about something, and then she stopped, and it was a very emotional meeting because everybody was reacting to my diagnosis news. There was a lot of emotion, and she said during the week she caught herself being grumpy about some little thing, and she said, "Wait a minute, Dave wouldn't be upset about this. He's got such bigger things going on. He wouldn't be this upset." If somebody across the room said, "Yeah, what would Dave do?" And then someone else said, "WWDD." And then so we started making these bracelets that said WWDD, and people started ordering them. And I got a picture from a dude in Paris, France, and he had a WWDD bracelet on. And he said, "Man, it just reminds me. Basically, it reminds me to focus on the things that matter every day." And so I get an email from a guy in Oregon that is dealing with stage 4 cancer, and he says, your story really inspired me, and I really want to thank you for talking about the things you talked about, whatever. And I was so inspired, I went online and ordered one of your shirts, and he sent a picture of a WWDD t-shirt with "What would Dave do?" And I emailed my manager and I said, "Marie, do we have shirts? I didn't know we had shirts." He said, "No, we don't, but we need to." So he had ordered some shirt from some random place. Evidently, it's another Dave out there somewhere. I don't know. But so that's how we started doing the merch. And then this another guy, Gavin Bowyer, has become a friend of mine. We've never met. We're going to meet this fall when we go to England. But he's in England, the UK, and he's an artist. And he had sent me a message saying, "I want to do a portrait of you, Dave." And so he said, "Can you send me a picture?" And so this picture was one I took of me smoking a cigar.
Oh, it's a smoke. Okay.
The smoke was blowing up in front of my face. And he took that picture and made this image. And what when he sent it to me, I got chills, because he said, "I want to capture some way in a picture what this ALS is doing to you." And it's like I'm disintegrating. And
yeah, it looks like you're a victim of the Thanos snap.
Yeah, it's just like my face.
That was the first thought I had.
And it was just an amazing image he was able to capture. And so, anyway, he and I have he was on the Fuck ALS party. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he got up at 4 a.m. in England to be on the show. And so we're going to meet up with him when we go to the UK this September. And he's an incredible artist. So yeah, the whole thing that happened with the Dying Out Loud, the t-shirts, the merch, all that just happened so organically, and there's a lot of cool stories involved in that. Anyway, thanks for wearing the shirt.
It's funny once people start noticing you on whatever social media platform, the people that come out of the woodworks and was like, "Hey, I could do this for you. You want this? I can do this." And you're like, "Oh shit! Like, you want to design a shirt for me?" Sure. Like my picture that has me like half angel, half devil, like with a halo and a horn on the other side. Like, someone like on Instagram is like, "Hey, I want to make this for you, totally free of charge." I was like, "Cool, yeah, go for it."
People are amazing, and the connection. The beauty of as difficult as COVID has been for me and shutting me down last year, and not being able to travel and do the things I was really loving to do. The beauty of the the internet. Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
That's one. Yeah,
I like that.
one of my biggest fans made that for me, Amy.
Are you going to put it in your merch store or the T-shirt?
It's on a sticker.
We have it on stickers. I can put it on a shirt. We were going to talk about that. So the problem with it is that it's black, so that's why it has a white border outline on it, kind of, sort of, for the intro and the outro that we did.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that screwed up.
We're still figuring it out.
But yeah, we got it on stickers. Nerds and Heresy merch.store. I said that earlier, but
I'm gonna name it a drink.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we haven't really talked a whole lot about evangelism.
We've only said the word.
Ironically enough.
You should think of a more neutral term that could be said in any conversation.
Yeah, the problem with that is that then, like, what happens when we say it 35 times?
What's the word we're supposed to say?
We're going to wake up hurting tomorrow.
What's the word we're supposed to say?
Well, I don't want to tell you.
We don't know yet.
Get into it. Let's talk about more of these scam artists, though. So we talked about Ted, who got busted with his masseuse. That is the person I was talking about.
Yeah, I knew about
There's
that.
also the guy, and I'm going to put up a video clip if I can. He got busted.
Wait, a video clip
radio.
of him doing a hand job and a masseuse?
Jesus Christ! No.
That's the video. Okay. I would love to see that, but maybe not here.
It's busted. So what was happening was, because they had everybody's information, their seat numbers, right? He had his wife in like a command center in the back, and she was looking up these people on Facebook and like going through their feed to find out what was like going on in their lives. Oh, this person's, grandma's dying of cancer. And so then he would bring them up on stage and it's like, I'm praying for your grandma. I know your grandma's got cancer. My grandma does have cancer. And it's like,
yeah.
That's not even cold reading. So there are people who do the cold readings, John Edwards, those dickheads. But then there are the people who, they have the capability with, everybody's on Facebook now. And you're putting your whole information out there and you're not setting anything to private. And then you wonder how people can find you and sort of.
Yeah, what was his name? I'm thinking of it, but I can't call it.
What now? Sorry.
The guy that was scamming the people in the audience. I can't remember his name.
Peter Popoff exposed in 1986 for using a concealed earpiece to receive radio messages from his wife. He gave him the names, addresses, and ailments of audience members. Okay, so that's a little earlier than I was thinking. I felt like there was somebody else. Oh, Kenneth Copeland. Kenneth Copeland got busted doing it too.
Yeah, Copeland is such a charlatan.
Speaking of which.
Oh, shit. So I remember when we had a guest evangelist at my home church, and they went up there and they like tried to do this. Like, I was a Pentecostal evangelical church member, and they were like, the Holy Spirit is telling me that someone has a lump in their throat. Who in here has a lump in their throat? Like, God wants to heal you today, and nobody responded. So he said, maybe someone in here knows somebody who has a lump. Like they tried to.
Oh yeah,
that's how cold reading works.
We're like, okay, like even like me, I was like, at one of my most diehard Christian phases, I was like, okay, I know what's going on here. Fuck you.
Yeah. No, that's how it works. That's how it works. There's no Holy Spirit telling him anything.
Yep. You just make some general claim, and when you're talking to an audience of like 300, 400, 500 people or more than that, like statistically, someone in there is going to have that issue. Like someone in here is dealing with depression.
Yeah. Someone has
the Spirit has a message for you today. Come to the altar.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how that works.
Sham.
If I put this back on, we can do it. I didn't know that this is what happened. Apparently, James Randi busted him.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
That's hilarious. I didn't realize it. So I love James Randi. James Randi cracks me the fuck up. Like, that shit's great. So I'm wondering if this should be the same one. I'm gonna put it up. I don't know. Like, we're getting into like, you know, who do we have to credit when we do stuff? Well, we're not monetized yet, so who gives a shit? But anyway, I'm gonna put this up, and we can just watch this real quick.
We're not here for the monetization.
Spirit of justice, take your hands off this woman in Jesus' name. Lord, let these ears be. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Here.
Show me harder, Daddy.
Can y'all hear?
Barely.
Hold on.
Now.
Sorry, let's try that again. My bad.
Spirit of justice, take your hands off this woman in Jesus' name.
There we go. Oh yeah, much better.
Oh, there it is.
As I get up close, I notice in his ear that there's an earpiece. There's no ear hole. It's a little piece of plastic in there, and I come back to her and I said, I think I know what's going on.
I said, what's up? He said, he's wearing a hearing aid in his left ear. Now, a man who heals the deaf, who wouldn't think would be wearing a hearing aid.
What? How do I sound now? No, now.
At that point, I realized we needed some technical help, so I enlisted the aid of a private investigator.
What the candy he has.
One day, Randy called me and suggested that Peter Popoff was using radio transmissions, but they couldn't really figure out how it was done. And they wanted to know if I could intercept it or detect it. I said I certainly couldn't guarantee it. Less than 50-50, maybe 25%.
We knew that Popov had a service, as he called it, happening in San Francisco. We figured we'd better be there.
Do you support Peter's ministry financially?
Every dime I can, yeah.
What brings you here today?
Well, I'm expecting a miracle, physical healing.
The day of the event, I dressed as a security guard, complete uniform, badge, shirt, radio, keys.
I appeared in disguise as Adam Jerson. If you put those words together and mix them up, they spell James Randi.
So I have my scanner going. I'm just looking for new frequencies, anything new that's not there normally.
Get ready. Get ready. Praise God.
Suddenly,
He just works the time too. Like, look at him.
the signal and the scanner has stopped at that frequency. And I hear what I realize are now footsteps. High heel footsteps on a hard surface.
How many of you believe it's all right to praise the Lord?
And then I hear someone coming closer and closer to the microphone, and the woman's voice said, "Hello, Petey."
Hello, Petey. Can you hear me? If you can't, you're in trouble.
Yes. They were using a radio frequency. I found it.
In the name of Jesus.
That's really funny.
I feel like we're doing the mystery science theater 3000 type thing. I know Crimson knows.
Oh my
like,
God.
it's just commentating on a fucking crazy Christian video.
That's too rich.
And so I'm reasonably positive that Kenneth Copeland got caught too in the same way. That's really damn funny though. But you know, and you made a comment like he looks fucking evil.
Oh,
And
God.
Copeland looks evil.
He does.
I see so many of these people, and it's like, why? Like, I get that you might be a charismatic speaker, but if you just have evil written on your face,
Can you find the Kenneth Copeland clip where he blows COVID away?
COVID-19. Blow the breath.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick and get a drink, but find that. I want to watch that. If you
Go
guys
for it.
I'll pull that up. There's a really funny one I love, so we're gonna watch that one instead. Deal with it, but it is part of it. It is the Kenneth Copeland, you know,
There's
blow
been
you away, COVID-19.
Yeah. There's been so many videos of that, of people watching it, and like their toupee will be like blown all away, or their dog is watching it, and then the dog's ears will like go back behind their head. Yeah.
Oh, this one's really great though. Oh, somebody in the comments guessed. It was Jackal. I'll just go ahead and say yes, it's that one, Jackal.
It used to be on Netflix.
Huh?
Oh, well, the documentary. Wait, fuck. What documentary?
The one with James Randi busting Peter Popoff. Yeah, that was obviously a documentary of some kind. I love that shit though. Oh my god! But that's the thing. So many of them get busted doing this shit, and then nobody cares. They keep, you know, they let them continue. And so we talked about it when Poog was on. I'm not sure. The church down in Atlanta that's like, everybody needs to give us $1,000, and if you can't, do $300, and if you don't have cash, there's an ATM machine in the lobby. Huh?
It's just like the WWE or WWF or videos where they have the earpiece, or the referee has the earpiece, and he tells whoever's wrestling, okay, this is the move you're going to do now. This is the move you're going to do next. Like there's those videos of them coming out and hearing them say that, and they're still like that comes out. People don't give a shit. And there's a term for it. It's called kayfabe, which means like from fable.
Kayfabe. I don't know how to pronounce that one, but I know what you're on about.
Kayfabe.
But I mean, that's different. Like professional wrestling, like that shit's an open secret that it's,
is it,
you know.
Is it? Like they're subscribing to an alternate reality. Either way, that
there are maybe a handful of fans who are like, no, it's not fake, it's all real, and those might be like just the dumbest people ever. Like but you know, there are people who like they don't care that it's you know, it's a play, it's acting, because it is still impressive. It is still athletic. Like you can't argue that they're not actually wrestling. They're doing the moves. It doesn't hurt as much as they make it look like it hurts. And you know, it's a lot of gymnastics even, which, but it's the storylines that people are there for more so even than the wrestling itself, I think. I used to be a big pro wrestling fan. I kind of still am to an extent. I love the New Day. Do you know anything about the New Day?
No. I used to be a huge wrestling fan when I was a teenager. I stopped watching around the time that John Cena came onto the scene, which is funny because when I was deployed in Iraq, a bunch of them came and visited us. And one of them was John Cena. And he wasn't as impressive to me. I was like, oh, this is – but like Vince McMahon was there. I was like – and I shook his hand. I shook hands with fucking Vince McMahon. And I was like, holy shit. This is I'm never washing this hand again. And like Rey Mysterio Jr. was there too.
Okay, well that's cool.
And there was like the Bella twins, but I had no idea who the fuck they were. But like Vince McMahon.
I cared about wrestling after, but mostly the games. I stopped watching wrestling like at the end of like the whole New World Order thing in the 90s. Sting is my favorite wrestler even today.
Sting is the shit. Are you kidding me?
Well, you think that because you like The Crow.
No, I think that because I like scorpions.
So Sting's the shit. But that's the thing is like the majority of the people. So like I do think it's different because it's the opposite. The majority of the people who watch professional wrestling, they're watching for the story. They get caught up in the story. They like the wrestling. Don't get me wrong, but like they know that it's an act and they don't care. Whereas the people who like subscribe to televangelism, they believe in it 100%, wholeheartedly. That's why they give all of their fucking money away to these.
Either way, it's a willing suspension of reality.
Well, here's the thing too. I want to for every one of the Peter Popoffs, there's genuine, caring pastors out there. I know them. I was one. My brother's one. My son-in-law is one. I know people who genuinely think and believe that they are doing God's work and that they're helping people navigate.
You're back. My turn to use the bathroom.
Yeah. And I knew Copeland back before he was rich and famous. I told him last night on the show that his son was a camper at a Christian youth camp I was a counselor at back in the 70s. And he was just a preacher preaching the word of faith. And that was his thing. He locked into this concept of the word of faith. And he was genuinely a preacher feeling like and believing that he was preaching the word of God and helping people live a prosperous, blessed life. But somewhere along the line, because he started making a lot of money and started getting famous and got private jets, he turned into this this charlatan, this showman, this artist.
That ties back to something I was thinking about before we started that I want to talk to you about, because it seems to me, because you're right, but I think that for like none of the big names in televangelism, nobody that runs a mega church is a legitimate, like, kind-hearted, good person. They can't be. To run a mega church, they can't be. So that I feel like there's three distinct kind of groups. It's a little reductive, but I feel like there are the true believers.
Yeah.
And in that, there's two groups. There are the people who believe and have deluded themselves into excusing any problems, contradictions, anything that doesn't feel right in the Bible. They just ignore it.
Yeah.
Then there are the people who are true believers, but they have those doubts, and the typical excuse for them is that the Bible was written by men, whether or not it was inspired by God, and so there are going to be problems in the Bible, and that's just challenging to the faith.
Yeah.
And then there are the people who have realized that it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And two things happen: either they become atheists, or they stay in it because they'd already dedicated their lives to it, and they try to make money doing it. And that's where you get any televangelist. I mean anybody who runs a fucking church where there are cameras, and especially if there's a fucking ATM in the lobby. Your church should have burned down the second you installed an ATM in your lobby, you evil motherfucker.
So that brings me to a question I have for you, Dave. When you were a pastor for almost 40 years, and you willingly made the transition, from you left the church, left your pastoral ministry, and became an atheist. Like, how was that for you? Like, worrying about like your personal life, your finances, like all that. How did you find or comfort, I guess, for lack of a better word?
Well, my story was different than your typical go to seminary, become a pastor kind of guy. I never went to seminary, never went to Bible college, never. Well, I did go to a Bible college that years later that church had, but I didn't get the seminary degree. I didn't get educated. I just was called by God and was gifted, and the people in the churches that I worked at recognized it and put me on staff. There were lots of years during my life where I wasn't on a church staff. I was just an entrepreneur or had a job and made a living a different way. So it was a mixed bag in terms of career and how I was making a living, so to speak. But always throughout my life as a Christian, I was always, if I wasn't on paid staff at a church, I was very much what they call a lay leader, where I was teaching classes and leading small groups or leading worship or whatever. So I was very involved as a believer, but the end of my faith came after I had been let go from a church because I didn't suck up to the pastor well enough. I was still a Christian and had gotten let go from the church staff and had begun to make my living in the insurance business. So for me, it wasn't like a lot of pastors that I met when they lost their faith while still on staff. They had to figure out, how am I going to make a living now? And I didn't have to deal with that dilemma personally, although I've known a lot of pastors who did. But my transition out of faith wasn't affected. It didn't affect my my income and my ability to make a living. So that was, I was blessed in that regard. These are what I had. Yeah.
On that note, not to steal your thunder, y'all want to watch this?
What we got here?
Sorry, I forgot.
Now I'm gonna turn it. Hold on, this shit is hilarious.
Because we have
Oh, that's one.
Standing in the court of the prophet of God, I execute judgment on you, COVID-19. I execute judgment on you, Satan, you destroyer, you break your heart, you get off this nation.
I like this song in the background here.
I demand a vaccination to come in.
I need a vaccination because God needs a vaccination.
Immediately he says, oh boy.
Oh, it's so good.
It just keeps going.
Oh, he's doing
It is finished. Oh boy.
The United States of America.
United America.
It's healed. Fuck yeah. Okay. Sure thing, Kenneth.
And
Sure thing.
Here's the problem.
so, how are they feeling now that
He's going to take credit for it.
COVID's still here?
No, but the
He said that shit months ago.
Yeah.
And a few fucking 100,000 more people died. He said the United States is healed, and it didn't fucking happen.
Let me tell you, if you asked him, here's what he'd say. God began to get the vaccine to us, but he had to fight through the heavenlies. There was spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
It got here, but we had a battle. Satan doesn't lay down. Guys, I know how these people think.
He's
all powerful, but he can't give us a vaccination like immediately.
No, because Satan's fighting it.
Or just not make.
So Satan's strong enough to stop the devil. Satan is strong enough to stop God from doing shit.
Oh yeah,
there's
spiritual warfare going on because of the fall. Come on, guys, know your Bible. Come on.
I know the Bible, and the Bible doesn't really. So, all right. So let's. We can get into some shit for why.
I'm just telling you how they think. I'm telling you how they think.
No, I know.
I know.
I'm poking fun back, but it's just I don't. You can't think that God is omnipotent and that God made Satan and that Satan is a challenge for God in any regard. That completely flies in the face of Jewish dogma and Christian dogma. So if evangelists believe that,
it's because of the fall of man. I'm telling you, this is how they think. There's spiritual warfare going on because of the fall of man.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's how they think.
Exactly how they think. And there's demons fighting with angels, even as we speak.
Yep.
If God was all powerful, he could just erase the demons.
Not if he's
where in the Bible? That's a good question, because I know where in the Bible it says Satan fell. Jesus says that, but the thing about that is that it never says that Satan's an angel.
He's Lucifer.
So disgusting.
Lucifer is only in the Bible once,
and
it's a mistranslation, and it's not even. Huh?
That's the point. They put those things together. I saw.
Yeah, well, they're putting shit together doesn't make any fucking sense. So that's the thing is you ask them about the Canaanite gods and the Egyptian gods, and they'll say, well, those are false gods. They don't really exist. Or they'll attribute them to angels, fallen angels, or demons. They will say that. But that doesn't exist in the Bible anywhere. And the same is true of Lucifer.
Crimson, you can't talk to them about what is true. You have to deal with them on how they think.
Yeah.
How they think is because they believe that because God had to give us free will, he had to for some mysterious reason, because he had to, the fruit was eaten and everything fell after that. That's why we have famines and earthquakes and disease and starvation, and all of that is because Adam and Eve fell.
And that's how I get asked regularly. Matter of fact, I was asked today, how are you so patient with these Christians? And I'm like, it's because I know how they think.
Yeah.
I used to think the same way. I understand. I'm coming from a place of empathy.
Yeah. And I know that they're stuck in that, because I was stuck in that. What people ask me all the time, what caused you to lose your faith? And a really simple answer I give is I got tired of making excuses for God's poor behavior. And that was one of the issues, is the things that didn't make sense, Crimson, the things that don't add up, that are not said. We continue to try to talk ourselves through that. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. But I know how they think. And that's like you said, Captain, you have compassion for it because you know they're stuck in that theology loop. Easy for me to say.
Well, stop having compassion for it because it's not theological. It isn't. It's not. Show me where in the Bible there's any sort of spiritual warfare.
It's hard not to.
We can't reach them.
Where are there even demons in the Bible?
We can't reach them if we just tell them they're stupid. We can't.
I'm not trying to tell them they're stupid. I'm literally asking where in the Bible. So that's the thing. I want to know where in the Bible does it say that Satan is an angel at all? Because Samael is the Satan, and Samael is an archangel, and that isn't really as spelled out in the Bible as it should be. But that's Jewish dogma, Jewish folklore, pre-biblical, extra-biblical content. Lucifer is only mentioned one time in the entire Bible, and it's not even actually about Lucifer. So even separating that and saying that the original word there, instead of Lucifer, star of the morning, the light bringer, son of the morning, however, the word is Helel ben Sahar, the Canaanite deity. And the Canaanite deities are, if ever pretended at being real by Christians, they're referred to as demons or fallen angels, sure. The only angel in the Bible, the only thing referenced as having fallen from heaven is Satan himself, right? I feel like that's true, and that's in Luke 10, and then also, yes, Lucifer. But like it's a Canaanite deity, and it's not even about him. It's a poem. It's a poem about the king of Tyre, the king of Babylon. It has nothing to do with the actual Lucifer or the actual Helel ben Sahar, who again, in that chapter, is never called Satan, nor is he ever referred to as an angel in that chapter. Later, they make another reference to the king of Babylon and say that he was a cherubim in the Garden of Eden. That happens, but that is removed from the reference to Lucifer by several chapters. I feel like they're both in Isaiah, though, but I'm not sure. Actually, it might be Exodus. Anyway, it doesn't matter, though, because it's like,
Isaiah,
so
not Exodus.
where's this? And I know the answer to this question, but the answer is it's not in the Bible. Where are the references to any kind of spiritual warfare, any kind of heaven versus hell? Because that shit's not in the Bible. It's John Milton's Paradise Lost. It's Dante's Inferno, and it's other biblical fan fiction and folklore. It's got nothing to do with the Bible.
Got battles and revelations. There's some references to angels and demons, things like that. Casting out. Jesus said, "This kind comes forth except by prayer and fasting." These demons, casting out demons. Jesus cast out demons. His disciples tried to cast out demons. That's the reference to spiritual warfare that Christians take up.
But that's man fighting demons. That's not angels fighting demons.
But they don't see it that way.
Well, you got to meet them where they are, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Crimson, you can get. Let me just tell you, bro. I've lived in that world for 40 years, and you can hit them with all that stuff you just hit them, and 90% of them, their eyes are going to glaze over.
Yeah, they will do nothing. It will do absolutely nothing.
Not register on their meter one bit, because they have been told by pastors for years what's true. It's not like they read it in the Bible themselves. The pastors tell them what's in the Bible.
Oh, you get that, though. They pretend. And I call them out on that shit, too. Because it's just like the dude who said that unicorns were in the Bible. And he's a KJV. I keep wanting to say KGV for some reason. He's a KJV purist. I'm like, unicorns in the KJV like 12 times. Where it's like, I know you don't read the Bible. I know you don't. And the reason I know you don't is because if you read the Bible, you wouldn't be Christian anymore.
But that's why, like, I don't talk about, like, the whole slavery thing very often. It's pretty rare because there's so many other people talking about that, and that's not where they're at. Right. I understand that is not an effective argument because at one point I was there. It's very easy to ignore, explain away, what have you. So I try to come at it from a different angle in ways that they've never thought about.
Well, I try to reason with them and just use logic, and I'm not saying it's always effective, but for me that's a better approach than getting too analytical. And what I try to do when they come at me with the fall of man and free will is I just say, but who made those rules? Who made the game? God was Milton Bradley making Monopoly. He could have made it any way he wanted. And he chose to, according to your doctrine, create the scenario where he had to give free will. And he knew, because he had foreknowledge, that this free will would result in the fall of man, which would then result in untold suffering and anguish and pain and death throughout human history. And that's the best plan God could come up with? Really?
Yeah.
God, you want to pledge your allegiance to?
I think that
think a little bit more about the whole big picture story rather than undercutting certain elements of it. Look at the whole fabric that you're saying this is how it is, and tell me that makes sense to you.
I feel like Chuck in Supernatural is probably the most accurate representation of the Abrahamic God in pop culture, where he's this petulant, narcissistic man-child who's just manipulative and evil.
Right.
Because, I mean, you read the Bible and that's the way it is. So we were talking about, oh, well, you don't talk about slavery in the Bible very often. I do. Anytime anyone wants to tell me that objective morality comes from God, comes from the Bible, I'm like, okay, well, my morality is better than yours because slavery.
Well,
slavery, rape, murder.
I don't get into the good slave, bad slavery, all that shit, because you know how they try to go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, they do. They want to.
But I just simply...
It wasn't permanent. Oh, okay, that makes it better.
I just simply say, listen, your God made a top 10, and thou shalt not own slaves, thou shalt not own another human, didn't make the top 10, but thou shalt have no graven images dead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not buying it.
And here they are wheeling in a sculpture of Donald Trump.
Literally a golden calf, because that dude's
literally a golden calf.
It's literally a golden statue. How much more irony can you have?
Cognitive dissonance, like I said, they're constantly a satire of themselves, and they don't even realize it.
Did y'all see the stage at the? Oh, you made a comment about it because you're like, well, I don't think that this was intentional.
I did.
Like that. What is the purpose of having a stage? Huh?
So I'm not
stage
sure
was
how I
the
felt about
fucking
my own comment. Like, yeah, it's like that shape, but like I don't want.
So fucking weird of a shape for it to be an actor.
It is.
I just want to play the drinking game, so say the words so we can have a drink.
Con artist.
Yeah.
Con artist? That was the word you chose, with con artist?
Con artist, scam, or fraud was one of them.
Dude.
No,
pick better words. You pick the words. You give me shit for my words every time. I had two more.
Next time, I will pick the word.
You know what? We're at an hour and a half. I'll tell you what the other ones were: speaking in tongues and/or filled with the Spirit.
Yeah, I'm not about it.
And the Great Commission. I thought talking about evangelism. That I keep wanting to pronounce it like evangelion. I thought talking about evangelism, we would be talking about the dumbasses fucking more, and we haven't.
That's Pentecostalism. I mean, we could have all if you want.
What word did I say you should do?
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Nationalism.
We haven't said nationalism since we said that. So we need to pick more common words. So somebody hit me up on fucking TikTok, send me a DM, or on Dadpool's Discord channel, and give me some words for next week with hyperhumanity. I might just watch a bunch of his videos and pick something that he says over and over again.
I think Rachel over here has agreed to pick words and then maybe moderate that.
Rachel,
okay. Well, I'll give you my login shit for.
Yeah, we'll talk later about giving her the permission she needs, but she seems to be excited to have that kind of power.
Give her some power, man. That's awesome. Rachel,
just make it happen. The topic next week, Nat. The topic next week is Gnosticism with hyperhumanity.
Yeah, that's gonna be
That'll
fun.
be fun. Oh, I love that dude's cadence. I do.
He is. His videos are so intense. His interviews are very intense. Oz
No,
wants
mommy's
to
telling
be
us
a
that I did
DJ. For it.
What?
It's Oz in the comments. He wants to be the DJ.
Hell yeah.
I bet Oz would be a fantastic
We
DJ.
can get like low music in the background for ambiance while we're talking about shit, especially with hyperhumanity. I think we have to have like background music for having hyperhumanity on.
Maybe. Oh.
It's just the way that he talks, though. I don't know. It's just kind of.
Yeah.
I feel bad talking about it because it sounds like I'm mocking him, but I'm not. I love that guy. He's great.
Yeah. He's like a character. Anyway.
Somebody wanted us to talk about Jim Baker earlier, which I did want to get back to the coronavirus shit.
Yeah.
But we got off on topic talking about the war between heaven and hell. That evidently proves that God's not omnipotent, which it never says he's omnipotent in the Bible. It never says he's omnipresent. Never says he's omniscient either. He needed to send angels to Sodom and Gomorrah to see for himself that they were evil, because apparently he can't see through lead.
And he also needed the Israelites to paint the doors with lamb's blood so he'd know which kids not to kill.
Yeah, that was that. Oh well, we were talking about morality though. That I bring that up, and you can get all of it in Numbers 31 alone, where it's like, how moral, how righteous is this God that he commanded his army to slaughter everyone of this nation, and when they didn't slaughter the women and children, Moses is like, you spared them? No, kill them too, but save the virgin girls for yourselves.
Yeah, you can keep like spoils of war.
They are counted among the sheep, cattle, and donkeys in the spoils of war. At virgin prepubescent children.
I'm like one dude said, I don't want the virgins. I want somebody who knows what they're doing.
But yeah, that's that. I just that you can't argue that morality is objective.
That's something
and comes from God or the Bible, based on those.
I mentioned from time to time when I talk about Islam. It's like, why would an omniscient God require so much violence to spread his word? Why? Because it's all over the Quran. Like, go into this neighboring city, slaughter all these people. Not just slaughter, but torture. Cut off their arms and legs, what have you. Like, why is God saying you need to like mutilate and torture people to spread his message?
There's an answer to that question.
God has created man's image.
We could talk about that next week with hyperhumanity, because it ties into Gnosticism, where the Bible, if you read it in its original language and you take it literally, Yahweh isn't the creator deity. He's not. He is one of the children of El. There's the concept of the 70 nations in Hebrew. So each of the 70 nations had their own national god. He was simply one of them. And so the Bible itself is just a continuation of Canaanite mythology, of the Baal cycle, where it's just a story of conquest. And not only is it a story of conquest, it's a story of conquest that didn't actually happen. And the reason for it and like how it managed to succeed and spread is really hilarious to me. Because the way that the Canaanite mythology worked, these city-states would attribute their victories and losses to their gods. The kingdoms of Israel and Judah didn't do that. If they lost, it was their fault. It had nothing to do with Yahweh. And it's, oh, well, we suffer to please him. Suffering is how we show our love for God. And through that like unwillingness to admit defeat for their God, that's how they sort of like started to spread their idea more. And through religious syncretism, absorbed Yahweh into El. And it's hilarious to me, because it's like, it's stubbornness more than anything else, like completely flying in the face of the tradition of the nation that they were in,
and they have
as far as how they told their stories. It's just really funny. I mean, it's not so much funny anymore, considering, but like you reading it and like imagining it through the history of its time, like that's hilarious to me. But yeah, we should definitely bring that up when we talk to, because he might know more about that necessarily even than I do. I don't know his extensive research into Canaanite mythology, but
Yeah.
Gnosticism itself is fascinating. I want to read more about it.
So, Dave, before we, because I think we're coming up to the point where we can transition into our more nerdy segment. What would you say to all the people who say, what point is there to life outside of religion, outside of serving God? What point is there if there is nothing at the end? What is the point of life? What do you typically say to people like that?
Yeah, I've talked about that a lot with my Dying Out Loud work. And what I talked a lot about is I've got a phrase that we coined early on called
Carpe fucking diem.
Yep.
That's the
Carpe
one.
diem. And it sees the day. It sees the fucking day. And that's what life is. Life is not some big, great grand plan. It's a collection of moments. And our job, our only job as we live through life is to grab the best moments we can, and to give the moments an opportunity to happen, is how I say it. And so when we look at life that way, then the meaning and the purpose that we think life inherently has becomes our responsibility. It's my responsibility to make the moments. It's my responsibility to give my life meaning and purpose. And so as I look at life that way, I need for there to be something beyond this life. I say to people, when they ask me, aren't you concerned that when you die, there's nothing after? And I say, why should there be something after? Why is this life not enough? And I call it a fetish for the afterlife that Christians have, where they convince themselves that a life that doesn't have an afterlife is meaningless. In fact, it's the opposite. If you think there's an afterlife, then that's going to make this life meaningless. But when you know that this life is all there is, then every moment matters. Every day matters. And for someone like me with a terminal illness, it matters all the more because I've seen, we all know that we're going to die, but I've gotten a glimpse into the end of mine that most people don't get. And so that's kind of a gift for me. It allows me to hyper focus on what I've got right in front of me and not get caught up in the mundane, not let life drift by. I have to get up every day and say, how am I going to seize this day? How am I going to make the most of this day? Because I know my days are numbered more than most of us do. So that's what I say to people. I think life has more meaning when you realize there's only one. There's a quote I grabbed early on from a poem called "My Soul Is a Hat." My soul has a hat by a Brazilian poet, and the last line of it is that we have but two lives, and the second one begins when you realize you only have one.
I'm familiar. I'm familiar with that. That's a fantastic quote.
Yeah.
I do think they fetishize the afterlife, but I honestly think, and I don't know if it's masochism or sadism or like utter ignorance. I think they fetishize hell more than heaven. They almost never talk about heaven.
Oh,
like
yeah.
You hear the mansions more than anything else, like as far as, we're lying on the cloud playing the harp. But they talk about hell far more often.
Well,
and by their own logic and reasoning, they're definitely going. So
there's a book called The Ascension of Isaiah. It was written around the time that the Gospels were written. It talks about the prophet Isaiah is supposedly the author of this, but God took him on a tour of heaven and hell, kind of like he did in Enoch in the book of Enoch. When he takes a tour of heaven, there's not a whole lot to talk about. But when he goes on a tour of hell, there is a lot more there. That's where they get, okay, there's multiple levels, and this has happened. This, like, if you are a woman who seduced a man, you are hung by your tongue over flames. Yeah. If you were seduced by the woman, you're hung by another part of your body over the flames. So there's all these like very vivid details about how you are tortured in hell. But when it comes to heaven, like there's not a whole lot written about it. You just worship God forever. That's it. There's no detail needed.
In Bart Ehrman's book. Did you read Bart Ehrman's book on that?
No.
I keep hearing his name come up.
Bart has a new book on that about the origins of heaven and hell. But I was just thinking about that book that you just referenced. So why do you think that is, Captain? Why do you think there's all the noise about hell and nothing about heaven?
Because that's what they're like Crimson said, that's what they're fetishized about. I
think they want to experience it. I really do. It's like just hire a dominatrix, get her to beat the shit out of you and burn you and do fun things to you. Get it out of your system that way. Stop telling other people they're going to this place that you secretly want to go to.
I think it's about control. I think that's how they control people, is the fear of hell. You can't. I mean, you can either motivate them toward reward of heaven, or you could make them afraid of going to hell. And it's easier to make someone afraid than it is to motivate them to a reward. That's what I think.
I think there's truth to that, but at the same breath, like you get these, and I'm telling you, they have evil written on their face. You get these people that are telling you, "Oh, you're going to hell," but they're so giddy when they say it. They are excited for it. They're like, "I can't wait to see you burn." Like that's something that a Christian should say.
Yeah.
Because they think they're privy to information that nobody else is. They're special.
But you talk about it. Oh well, the same's true though of Dante's Inferno versus Dante's Paradiso. You never hear about Paradiso. You only ever hear about the Inferno because that's the interesting book. Mm-hmm. The Paradise, Purgatory, that shit's boring. Who cares?
Yeah.
Inferno. It's the masochism and the sadism of talking about how these people are going to be punished. That's the interesting part. That's what we want to hear because we're violent. We really, truly are violent in nature, just as human beings. And you can tie that to evolution. That's how we succeeded as a species. We starved our competitors off the fucking planet. So there's that's depressing to get into, but it's true. What I do want to talk about briefly. Sorry, what was that?
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, somebody brought this up earlier, and I did want us to talk about it and tie it back to Kenneth Copeland. Jim Bakker. So the reason I think they want us to talk about Jim Bakker is that last year he was selling fucking colloidal silver. Every couple of years I hear about that shit again, and then you see the dude with the blue face.
The cure to COVID, right?
Within 12 hours. He claimed it would cure COVID in 12 hours, and he sold over 100,000 units. And it's like, is this motherfucker still being taken seriously by anybody after that shit clearly didn't fucking work?
Yeah. It's like people are still taking Kenneth Copeland seriously after, hey, COVID's still fucking here.
And how the fuck could you possibly take credit for killing COVID if you said that shit a year ago? You're so, the war between angels and demons is somehow stopping God from putting an end to COVID-19. Why did he give us COVID-19 in the first place, Kenneth? Answer me, Kenneth. You better call my phone right now, Kenneth.
All right, so.
But yeah, sorry.
I think we're at a good transition point, Dave. Unless there's anything else you want to say, we can go into our nerd segment and talk about alcohol and stars. And
I figured this was a better transition.
That works.
Somebody told me to cut you off. I think Jessica hit me through telepathic.
We'll tell her to shut her whore mouth. So
you're gonna regret that.
Anyway, I was talking. Women aren't supposed to talk in 1 Timothy, right?
Oh.
Okay.
I will send flowers for your.
No, I know she is not someone to fuck with. Okay.
I might pregame.
So, going back to what I was saying, Dave, when we were in backstage, Crimson and I both said that we don't really know a lot about cigars. Like, I have one, I have a few, but ultimately we don't know a lot about them. But you do. Like, this is something you nerd out about, as well as alcohol. So, can you... What?
Oh, no.
Oh, this is going to be fun. So, Dave, whoopsie.
What the fuck did Backstreet do? What's going on?
What the fuck did Backstreet just say?
I don't know what I mean.
Yeah, Dave, there's some inside shit going on right now. Just okay. Yeah, real talk. Dave, you were the cigar aficionado among the three of us. So educate us on what we should look for when we go shopping for a cigar. Yeah.
Well, if you're paying less than $5 for a cigar, you're probably not getting a real good one. And it's about the tobacco. And a lot of people rave about Cubans. But we were talking about this backstage. Cubans are not Cubans anymore. And the reason is, a few years back, maybe 5, 6, maybe 10 years, I don't know, I've lost track of time, but there was a big hurricane that hit Cuba, and it pretty much wiped out their tobacco crop. And so it messed up the soil, is what happened. And cigar tobacco is all about the soil it's grown in. And so what happened is the best cigars began to come out of Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic, because they, previous to this hurricane that hit Cuba, had imported some of the Cuban seeds, and they were now growing from those Cuban seeds their own tobacco in better soil than what Cuba had. So the best tobaccos, there's always an annual survey where they do the rating of the tobaccos in the world, and the best tobaccos in the last 5 years have been from Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic. So on a cigar, there's brands that are obviously better than others in terms of, but those brands are really more about how they roll them, because a cigar is not only about the tobacco, but it's how it's rolled.
I've heard that.
Is it rolled too tight? Is it too loose? Does it draw well? Does it light well? Does it burn evenly? Those are all about how the cigar is made. And so the cigars that are made better obviously cost more because there's more involved in the making of them. Now, when I was in Nicaragua 5 years ago, I actually rolled a cigar myself.
Really?
It's not a real difficult process, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's real easy to roll it too tight, or to leave it too loose, or to not cut it right, or whatever. So that's why these cigars cost more, but it all starts with the tobacco. So if you're looking for a good quality cigar right now, currently, you want to find one that has Nicaraguan leaves or Dominican leaves.
So,
go ahead, Crimson.
I was going to say, like, believe it or not, I actually know about this to an extent. Which I say that because I've literally never smoked tobacco products. Teehee. But I was doing a video recently about Cubans. I saw that somebody was claiming that they had so it's an heirloom kind of thing, that they had the seeds. I want to say they were from the southern United States though, but I do remember reading about this. And then, so that ties back to, the idea that Cubans are illegal. Well, that's not true anymore as of 2016, except that Trump tried to reinstate it. I don't know if that's gone through or not. But I don't understand dick about cigars, though, to be honest with you. Outside of the legality, and then just the knowledge of crops in general and how people have certain strains that they train, breed a certain way. I don't know. My grandfather used to eat them. That's always thrown me off my suit. He didn't light them. He just chewed on them for hours. So it's like that.
There's a certain taste you get out of the tobacco. It's kind of like chewing tobacco in a cigar form. I don't understand. People
My
ask me,
grandfather chewed red man like religiously too.
huh?
So my grandfather chewed red man religiously.
No, I don't know. People ask me why I like cigars so much, and I don't inhale them. There's just there's a taste. There's a to me the smoking a cigar is like a religious experience. It's like it's a relationship. It takes about an hour to smoke a good cigar, and in that hour, you're going to be doing something that's meaningful. You're going to be having a conversation with someone, or like last night on the show where we were talking about Bible verses and skewering them and having cigars and the smoke in your mouth is good, and it's just this pleasurable experience. It's not just, people go outside on break and puff down a cigarette in 2 minutes. Well, that's not a relationship. That's a one night stand. So a cigar is
I like that. That's good. That's so accurate too. Fun fact about me. I worked at Starbucks for about 6 years accumulatively, and 2 of those years I was a supervisor. And when you're hired onto Starbucks, you have to go through this like tasting trial, and you're given all these different coffees.
Yeah.
Like, take a sip of this. Okay, what can you tell here? You're supposed to write your answers down. And you do that for all of them, and you learn how to detect like the smoky flavors and the nutty flavors and the darker flavors and the lighter flavors, and then they tell you like, well, you taste this flavor because the bean was dried out this certain way, or this bean was planted in a certain type of soil.
Yeah.
So like it all matters, which is so similar to cigars.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
And it's like wine. If you go out, you go to a vineyard area, you realize that it's really all about the soil. It all starts with the soil. And that's what I learned about cigars when I went to Nicaragua and learned about. That's why the Cubans are still living on reputation, although they've not had the best soil for quite a few years. So they may get it back, but for a long time they had the best soil, so they grew the best cigars.
You made a comment, and of my limited knowledge of tobacco in general, I was under the impression that you're not supposed to inhale cigar smoke. Actually,
you're not.
Is that not the case?
No, you're not. It'll make you sick to the dog.
Yeah, you're gonna have a bad time if you actually inhale cigar smoke.
But that's what I was.
You said I don't inhale, and I was like, "Are you supposed to?" Because I don't know.
People wonder, what do you get out of it if you don't inhale? What do you get out of it? You just pull it in your mouth and push it out. And we could go a long way with that one. But so people that don't smoke cigars don't realize you don't smoke. Don't inhale.
Natalie asks if you've ever had Polynesian cigars.
No.
I've had Polynesian sauce.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I had an instructor for my first AIT, dude by the name of Ascari Williams, who drank nothing but wild turkey religiously and had like a humidifier room.
Yeah.
For the many different cigars that he had. So this is just reminding me of him. We're not friends anymore, sadly, but I liked him when I knew him like person to person. But then like after I left, we had a few differences of opinions and we're not friends anymore. That happens a lot with me. I'm very strong-minded about certain topics, and I don't really give an inch about like human rights. So figure that one out.
Let me put on my shocked face, Crimson.
Well, that I don't give people room to like abuse others.
That you don't. Yeah, that.
That I don't have a lot of friends. Just say what you want to say.
That you don't have a lot of friends. Sure. Okay, let's go with that. No one likes you.
You're right.
No one really likes you. They just use you.
I would love.
I couldn't keep that up.
Natalie,
Are you talking about yourself right now? You don't like me? I thought you liked me.
Am I emulating right now, or what's the word? Fuck.
Polynesian cigar.
Projecting?
Projecting. That's the word. Thank you. Am I projecting right now?
I'm not using you. I enjoy your company, Ricky.
I enjoy your company too. I really do. I enjoy you. I really do.
This is getting sweet.
It's all in good fun. It's all in good fun.
I like a good roast. There's nothing
You're
wrong with it.
my type of
And you're
people,
right. You know, I'll say it. Whatever.
right? Anyway, so I've.
What's the purpose of a humidifier? Let's get back to the topic.
So sorry.
What?
I've had a few cigars in my most recent life. I live fairly close to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and I go there just for the cigars because of a certain shop. The guy there, he turned a hobby into a business. He knows a fuck ton about cigars.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big fan of the acid cigars, which I have here. And I'm saving I'm saving this for when my divorce goes through. Long story about that. We don't need to go into right now. But yeah, there's a lot to cigars that I never really realized before.
Well, there's another cool story about my cigars is that one of the top brands you'll see if you go into any store is a brand called CAO.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's the initials of a man named Chano Ozgener, and he's from Turkey. And I became friends. A good friend of mine that I used to be in church with, and years ago, and in fact, I just recently saw him and his wife down in Costa Rica. But he divorced and then remarried, and the lady he remarried is from the Ozgener family. And the CAO brand was started by her dad, this friend of mine, and it became it was a good cigar. I mean, it was really a good cigar, but it really became one of the top brands in the world when it was featured on The Sopranos. And once it became, they began to feature it on their show, and it just skyrocketed in popularity. And they ended up selling the company to General Tobacco for, I don't know how much, a lot of money. And anyway, they're good friends of mine. And so I was with my friend in Nashville. They're from Nashville, where I used to live. And we were over at her dad's house. He had passed away, but we went over to his house, and he was giving me a bag of cigars. And I said, well, how many does he have? And he took me into a room that was the size of any good-sized bedroom, and it was just a humidor. A room full of cigars from floor to ceiling, shelf after shelf of cigars. And he just said, take what you want.
Wow.
It's a way of life for some people. I mean, so I'm a broke bitch. I don't know if you knew that.
Which one did you pick?
I picked a lot of the, they didn't even have labels on them. They were just unmarked cigars. So I just took a lot of the mediums and darks. Oh, sorry. Natalie said she couldn't hear me because y'all were blabbing about something. And she said, I can't hear you, Dave. What I was saying is I would love to try a Polynesian cigar. I don't know where to find them. So I'm going to check my local cigar shop and see what they can tell me.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was it? Oh, I was saying it's a way of life for some people. For some people, I don't know that that's necessarily you, or if you would have a humidor if you could afford one. Are you in the same boat as me?
There's a cigar shop near me, or not really near me. It's a few hours away. It's a huge cigar shop, but they also have like this room with all these recliners and couches. And it's like a club, and you just you join the club and you meet a certain time every week, and you just shoot the shit with other people over different cigars. I'm so envious that, like, if I lived closer to that place, I would fucking love to do that. It sounds like such a good
I
time.
lived in Nashville. I lived downtown, and there were 3 different cigar lounges that I would go to.
Cigar lounge, that's what I'm talking about. Yep.
Oh my God, it's just the best experience. Yeah, you sit and you have a whiskey and a cigar, and sit in a chair and shoot the shit, or listen to music, or watch TV, or whatever.
I've had some of my best conversations with people over whiskey and cigars, although I don't smoke. It happens a lot in like VFWs and whatnot. So when I lived in Italy, there were a lot of retirees that like married a local and stayed. And I don't know. I like hearing people's stories, so I really enjoyed like having.
That's what I mean about smoking a cigar. It's different than grabbing a quick cigarette or something. There's a time element involved, where that means you're going to either be in a conversation, you're going to be doing something that's meaningful, and there's just something about it that it's not just the taste or the smell; it's the experience. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I get where you're coming from. Despite not being a smoker, I am a drinker. We can get into that a little bit. No, I was just kind of commiserating there. Like I said, it was like I was trying to. If I could compose my thoughts for half a second, I am not that drunk. What is wrong with me right now?
You made
Sorry.
it. I am.
That it's a way of life for certain people, and so like if I could afford it, I'm in an apartment right now. We're looking at moving into a house in the next year, roughly, hopefully. That VA home loan though. But when we do, what I kind of want to have, I want a living room big enough that I can build a bar. And then I want to have a number of different sort of fancier drinks, and I especially like whiskey. Scotch hadn't really gotten into until recently, but whiskey in general, bourbon especially. My go-to was James for the longest time, and then somebody spoiled me because I had Johnny Walker Black Label, and now it's my fucking favorite. I don't know why.
You guys like rum?
Rum is my go-to. Like
Ricky's go-to is rum. I drink it. I like it, but it's not really my go-to. My go-to is whiskey.
Well, bourbon is my drink, but we were down in Costa Rica, and they've got this rum that's made in Nicaragua, and man, it's so smooth, and it's cheap. My God, we hit the airport and we bought a big bottle for $12, and yeah, we sipped on that all week.
You know, that's the thing about rum, though, I feel, is that it doesn't matter if it's cheap. Like, the good stuff's nice, it's smooth, whatever, but the cheap shit is it's good.
Yeah.
I drink Kraken. I drink Kraken specifically to make the joke, unleash the Kraken every time I open the bottle.
My favorite rum is my go-to. My favorite type of rum is called Black Seal. It's a dark spiced rum. It is fucking sweet. It's smooth. It's smoky. It's vanilla-y. It's leathery. It's just fucking delicious. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's similar to Kraken, but way better. And it's just
Bevan likes rum, and I hadn't had any in a while. But when we got to Costa Rica last week, I got into it again, and man, it was so smooth. Yeah.
Cool. So we're past the 2-hour mark. We're coming to the end of the show. I feel like this conversation could go on for hours, and I would really enjoy it.
We just started talking about alcohol.
I know we're having so much fun, but
we'll do it again, and you know, Captain, one of these days we're going to meet up and we're going to have a cigar and a drink, and we can talk all night.
Yeah, we've had that. We've had a little bit of that conversation. I'd definitely love to meet up with you in person, man.
We're going to do it, dude.
Yes, sir. So, Dave, before we kind of sign off, if you wrote a book, which you are writing a book, but if you wrote a book and you were to highlight something that you would like everyone to memorize? Not really memorize, but pay close attention to specifically. What would that be? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I'm thinking several answers I'm thinking of, and they all sound like trite cliches. But I think if you really think it through, they're not, because I've lived a long life. I'm 65 and coming down the end of it, and it really is pretty simple. It's not complicated. This world we live in, this life we live, if we really think it through. And I saw a sign the other day that just said simply, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. It's not hard to be kind.
That's good. In a world you can be anything, be kind.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's not hard to be kind. Just stop a minute, back up, slow down, and just be kind. It's just be kind to other people. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know how difficult it was for them to get out of bed today. And so just shut up and back up and be kind. And if we could do more of that, if I could do more of that, it'd be a better world. And so I work on that a lot. I think about that a lot. And I'm trying to finish well. I want to be the best version of myself when I cross the finish line.
That's so like profound, especially when it comes to these Christians who say they're the epiphany of moral, morality.
Yeah.
But they tell you you're going to go to hell, you're going to burn forever, you're going to get what you deserve, etc. Things I get told on a daily basis. And here we are, the atheists, and you as an atheist saying, no, be kind. That is the point of it all, is to be kind to one another.
I can give the Christians a scripture that will allow them to take what David just said to heart. Because you're Christians, right? You're supposed to follow Jesus, the Christ, right? So what Jesus said was, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. Yeah. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. If that was your Bible, I'd be okay with you putting that in the courthouse. That's all you need. You can ignore the rest of it and stick to that, and you'd be a better person for it.
Yeah.
And they say that's the golden rule, right? But later Jesus says, I verily I say unto you, love each other as I have loved you, which my former pastor would say is the platinum rule. Like you have the golden rule, now you have the platinum rule. So then Jesus, who was this exemplary standard for love, and we're supposed to emulate that.
Right.
What does that look like?
Be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind, yeah. Like
we're putting that on a shirt, Dave.
Like it really is that simple.
It really is.
Put all your biases aside. Recognize that we are all humans on the same planet, with the same lack of understanding about what the fuck is going on around us. We have no idea. None of us have any fucking clue what's going on. We're all just here trying to make sense of it. Like if everyone could just be honest and say that's what's happening here, and the best we can do is just be kind to each other. In the meantime, things would go a lot better, I think.
It's easier said than done. I mean, that's for sure. But if we can just, the guy that cuts you off in traffic, you don't know what they're going through today. You just don't know. And if we can give the benefit of the doubt, and I don't do that as often as I should, but if we can stop and remind ourselves and think about it, then maybe we do better.
That is hilarious that you say that, Dave, because like something that's just purely entertainment for myself. Whenever someone cuts me off in traffic, I say there's a woman in labor in the back seat, and they're trying to get to the nearest hospital as fast as possible.
Yeah,
that's what's happening. That's why they cut me off. That's why they're going so fast. That's what's happening. Maybe So I'm not going to like cuss them out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I need to adopt that mindset because I'm an angry person behind.
I am too, but I'm trying to like work on that, and that's the type of thing I try to focus on.
Yeah, and I'm the same. We can work on it. That's what I'm saying. I want to be the best version of myself at the end that I've ever been.
Yeah.
Your wife is in the comments calling you a liar. Sorry, future wife.
Listen, she's right beside me. Listen.
Don't let him lie to you.
I'll
call him out. Shit.
I didn't say I've mastered that.
No.
I never did that. I'm still a fucking terrible person. Okay, especially when I'm behind the wheel on the road, I'm still a fucking terrible person.
I'm gonna put that on a shirt though, Dave. It's just gonna be quotes and be kind, and then I'll put a little tilde Dave Warnock, and then I'll put DaveOutLoud.com underneath it. What do you think?
I'll get one.
Or be kind, except I'm a terrible person, so don't take my advice.
Did you just call Dave a terrible person or yourself? And now I'm confused. I think we lost the...
Me? No, that's a quote from me.
Oh, okay.
You can quote me on that. I don't give a shit.
All right. You want to take us out, Ricky? Is that what we're doing now?
Yeah, sure.
I gotta go pee.
Well, we're wrapping, Dave.
Go pee and then come back. Or no, go pee and then come back, and then we'll close it out.
Okay.
We're waiting for Dave.
So when
I wanted
Dave
to talk about
back,
these. I kept these specifically to bring this up.
We never got to it, did we?
Huh?
We never got to talk about that, did we?
We didn't. I love these.
Did you mention that in the backstage?
I'm probably mispronouncing this. This is Glen Meringue. There's an IG at the end, but Scottish is weird. Oftentimes you can ignore those kind of syllables. Again, I haven't been into Scotch except for lately, but James did this too. I wish I had it to show you. They're called cask mates for Jamesons. And what they do is they take their whiskey and then they finish it in a cask of a different liquor or sometimes wines, beers. James has one that's finished in Guinness casks, and that is fucking delicious. I loved that. That was like a 40-year too, wasn't it? That one was expensive. Anyway,
I had a stout today that was supposedly brewed in a barrel that whiskey was previously brewed in.
Well, that's why it's cask mates for James.
Yeah.
That they had a thing with Guinness where they gave them old Jameson's casks and they received Guinness casks, and then they finished their brews in the opposite cask, I should say. So there was one that we did. Oh no, wine. There's it's kind of a cheaper wine, but it's still good. I like it. Apothic is the brand, and they do a bunch of different ones. It was Apothic Inferno. Apothic Inferno is a type of red wine that is finished in a whiskey cask.
How is it?
I mean, if you don't like wine, you're not going to like it, but I like it. Like, you can definitely tell that there's that sort of whiskey kind of undertone. So I find that interesting. Like, so there's, people wax poetically about their palates and how refined they are and all that nonsense. I notice like a pickup, a mid, and then an ending for just about anything that I drink, to an extent. Like, you can even say that of like soda. It's not specific to alcohol, and it's not like impressive or however. It's just how different flavors hit different parts of your tongue at different times as you drink something. So, yeah. If you don't like wine, you're not going to like it. But anyway, what's going on? People are freaking out in our comments.
It's adorable that he acts like he can hold his liquor. I really hope she's talking to you and not me.
She's running her mouth about me because she got me fucked up on like 15 shots of tequila. That's not my fault.
I could drink her fucking table.
No, the fuck you couldn't. You don't remember
Yes, the fuck I could. Remember doesn't mean I wasn't.
Just because I doesn't.
I made it up to bed, didn't I?
I doesn't.
Drunk as shit. I made it into bed.
We went through most of a bottle of Patron, and she wasn't even wobbly. I wouldn't take that bet. I really wouldn't.
I would. I'm pretty confident.
I'm letting you know not to underestimate people. It's dangerous for your health and beauty. What about alcoholism?
I'm pretty confident in my alcoholism.
Okay, but overconfidence will kill you, Ricky. You want to die of alcohol poisoning? Because that's what you're going to get if you try to hit up Mommy Foulmouth.
I'm not scared. I'm ready. Bring it.
I'm just trying to help you. All I'm saying is that you should maybe be a little scared.
I don't need your help. We got this.
I outweigh her by double, and she did. I'll say it, bitch. She drank me under the table. You want to fight about it?
I don't doubt that she's a formidable opponent. I don't doubt that at all. I'm sure she is, but she's not on the same level I am.
What's up, Dave?
Looks like this has gone off the rails.
Maybe a little. Maybe. Ricky is doing the textbook definition of biting off more than you can chew.
Oh.
Says you.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, underestimating people is dangerous for your health and beauty. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not underestimating. I'm perfectly adequately estimating. I know where she is. I'm sure she's a formidable opponent, but she can't hold a candle to me. That's what I'm saying.
She says, "Are you serious? Bet, pick a day."
I see that. I'm fucking any day.
One of y'all is going to die of alcohol poisoning, and I've got my money on you.
I've had 3 of these.
Oh, y'all are
already, and I'm still perfectly capable of holding a conversation.
She says she wants to fight. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Mommy Foulmouth.
Fucking yeah.
Ooh. This did indeed get off the rails. I was just trying to talk about how certain liquor companies are doing this thing that I like, the whole caskmate thing. I don't know what anybody else calls it. So yeah, these are
Crimson's like, I just wanted to talk about this. You guys are being so serious.
port sherry. I don't know how to pronounce that one. This is the one I haven't drunk yet.
Okay.
Tell me how to pronounce that word. Can you see it? Hold on. No, you can't. It is too blurry.
Randy?
Well, yeah, no, but the cask finish, Sauternes, looks like Sauternes. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's got to be some kind of wine, probably a white wine. Anyway, sorry, but yeah, cask aging, cask brewing. I hadn't seen anything. So I mean, I've only been drinking for like 10 years, maybe a little longer. Oh, so 2009, so 13 years. I've only been drinking for 13 years, but I didn't start seeing these until like 2018, where they were doing the cask aging and the cask brewing. As far as like, I don't know. Have y'all tried any of these? You know what I'm talking about at all?
I don't.
No.
Well, I think they're delicious. I think they're very interesting at the very least. Who's shy? I'm not shy. What? Jess wants to know that she's half a bottle of Jack down and she's typing just fine, no typos. Which, you know, autocorrect, but anyway.
All right. So, getting back on track.
All right.
Was that Dave?
I'm getting an echo from Dave.
I'm fading out, y'all.
You're fading out?
Oh, you're staying out of it?
I'm fading out. I'm an old man. I gotta go to bed.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're about to take us out.
Yeah, get back in here. The floor is about to be yours. Dave, what would you say to anyone who is going through an existential crisis, who is dealing with feelings of or a crisis of faith? The people who are questioning their religion, questioning everything that they've been taught for so many years, beginning their deconstruction process. What advice would you give those people?
Read your Bible.
Oh, rude.
No,
they don't read. They don't do that. That's not a thing.
Trust your instincts.
They haven't read to them.
Trust your instincts. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and look on the internet. Ask some questions. You'll find out more than your preacher told you.
Yeah, it's so
Follow
true.
people like us.
Yeah, there's a lot of more information out there than you've been given. That's the bottom line.
Where can we find you, Dave? Where you at? What are you doing? You got anything coming up this? So you talked about your book. I'm looking forward to that. I do want to proofread it. If you need beta readers, I'm here for you. Let me know. But other than that,
DaveOutloud.com. It's real simple to remember. That's where all my links are to everything, all my YouTube shows and podcasts and videos of talks I've done. Got a thing coming up for Recovering from Religion I'm talking on at the end of this month. Next month, I'm speaking at the first ever conference on religious trauma. So sign up for that, register for that. There's a lot of good speakers. There are a lot of good information and a lot of help out there for people who are struggling. So that's what I'm doing.
So,
you know, Dave, you do have a calendar, but I can't help but notice that we're not on it for today.
sad face. So real quick, Dave, talk to us about Recovering from Religion, the RFR Foundation. Can you tell everyone what that's all about?
Yeah, it's just a resource for people who are deconstructing or struggling with their faith, who have struggled with it, don't know how to process it, don't know how to deal with family members or friends, or how to talk about it, how to come out, when to come out, all those things, those questions that we all have to struggle with. And it's a worldwide organization. They have trained counselors that will walk you through various stages of your deconstruction, or even the questions. I mean, it's not like they're not trying to persuade someone against religion. They're trying to just be an honest sounding board for you that you won't get from your church or from your family or from your religious community. So it's a great resource. I know Daryl Ray, the founder of it, very well. He's a good friend of mine, and they do incredible work. He's also Daryl's a retired psychologist, and he's developed the Secular Therapy Project, which connects people to trained therapists who are strictly from a secular viewpoint. A lot of people have trouble in their locations, wherever they live, finding a secular therapist. Everybody's wanting to approach things from a Christian standpoint, and that's not what people need. So RFR is a great resource, a great group. I work with them. I sponsor them on I've got a link to them on my website. We work very closely together. So there's a lot of interconnection there, and I just believe in what they do big time.
Yeah, I recently applied to be a group counselor or a group leader.
You said it's kind of hung up, or what's the process? What's the status of that?
Yeah, I applied for it, and then I had an interview, and the interviewer asked me a bunch of questions. Some of them were trick questions, which apparently I did very well on. And it's been a couple of weeks since that interview, and I'm still waiting on a response. He's told me I'd get an email on that. But pre the panoramic, Pandora, I would be hosting group meetings in my local area, but because of everything that's going on with the coronavirus, I would be hosting weekly group meetings via Zoom.
Right.
Which is something I super want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting on.
If that goes much longer, let me know, and I'll follow it Daryl and see what may be the holdup.
Yeah, Dave recently introduced me to Daryl Ray, the founder of Recovering from Foundation. We exchanged a couple of messages, but yeah, that's something I super want to do.
Well, I know you're good at it, and I was talking you up to Daryl, and so I want to make sure you get that connection, and I don't want that to slip through the cracks. Maybe it's just the normal. I don't know how long it's supposed to take. So
yeah, I appreciate it. And there's other. If anyone wants to also volunteer at that, they have like phone counselors, social media managers. Like they have a few different options that you can choose. So if you're an atheist who has gone through the deconstruction process and you want to help others through it, the Recovering from Religion Foundation has a few different options if you wanted to do that. And that's something I'm currently pursuing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, Y'all wouldn't have me. I'm sorry, I'm not an atheist. No, I would support what they do, I think, but I feel awkward when people use the word religion when they are more than likely or usually specifically referring to Abrahamism, but I get it. So, I don't know. I just, it's like you're sitting, I'm like, I don't know what we're talking about. Can I still stand here? But yeah.
I mean, you were mentioned on Apologia's top atheists to follow on YouTube.
They called me a skeptic, which is true. I mean,
yeah, skeptic. That's fair enough. I've said every time I go live without fail, at least 10, 20 fucking times, I answer the same question. How do you feel about spirituality? How do you feel about Buddhism? Because my girlfriend practices witchcraft, my soon-to-be wife practices witchcraft. Like, how do you feel about that? And every time I give the same answer, like spiritualism, if that's something that adds value to your life, go for it. Absolutely. Like, it's not for me. It's not my thing. But if it's your thing, fucking go for it. Yeah. You know, like, my problem comes with when you are worshiping a certain entity and you're telling everyone else that they should likewise worship that same entity that you worship. That is where my problem is. If you want to be spiritual, fucking go for it.
To be fair, that's my basis too, is, you know, whatever your religion is, it's your religion. And I even think that it's to an extent immoral to provide that to your children without also giving them like the counterpoints to it.
Right.
Indoctrinating them into your religion and making them worship the way that you do instead of giving them information about like all these different things. And to be fair, I don't really truly believe in any extant religion. I think there's truth to be had in most of them, even if the truth that is to be had is that this is bullshit, which is how I feel about the Bible. But you know, at the end of the day, all I truly really care about, I don't know that there's an afterlife. I don't pretend at any kind of like hope for it to an extent. But I do, like, I have this sense of divinity that I place in the earth and in nature. And like my interest is wholly in preserving that. It has nothing to do with preserving my own life or afterlife or however. It's whatever I can do while I'm alive to support environmental efforts, really. That's all that I use my religion for. And to an extent, I do kind of like bully people into doing that too, but not for the sake of the religion, for the sake of the planet and the future of our species. I think that that's the distinction there. And that's why I don't get along with other druids.
And that's the beauty of atheism or even agnosticism, is you get to choose your own path. Whatever it is your heart most is passionate about, you now get to invest in that. If your heart is in environmentalism, if your heart is in politics, if your heart is in whatever social issues, like, you can now invest yourself in that and not in whatever religion.
Yeah, and I like the term free thinkers. You get to think what you want. No one tells you what to think or do.
Yeah,
I can dig it.
So we're 2.5 hours in. Again, I feel like we could talk about this all fucking night. This is a great conversation. I'm really enjoying it. I hate to end it, but yeah, we all need to go to bed at some point.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Okay. I love you guys. It was fun.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on, Dave. Again, everyone who's watching, Dave Warnock, dyingoutloud.com. Look him up. He's doing some really good things in the community. He's been active in the community much longer than I have been. So yeah, like, subscribe, do all that good shit. And next week we are going to be having Hyperhumanity, which is sort of a fan favorite, or something that's anticipated by some of our followers. Everyone's super interested to see him in an interview type session. So that's going to be fun. Look forward to that. And check out our merch store. Yeah,
Rock on.
Whoop, hold on. Where am I?
there it
What's
is.
going on?
And I've said this already, but several people have ordered shit and they got it already, and I have not. I ordered my stuff the day we launched the store, and I still have not gotten anything. I'm so mad. So
I haven't
mad.
gotten most of my stuff. All I have now is the shirt and the cup, but I got more coming. So I don't know. I don't know why they're sending it like a piece at a time. That's really fucking weird. Nerds and Heresy merch.store. If you're following us on TikTok, that shit's in, I think, both of our link trees.
Yeah, Dave, I'm super glad to have gotten into contact with you. You're an amazing person. I'm really enjoying interacting with you and helping get your message out there, because I think it's a very valuable one that a lot of people need to hear. And I will do what I can to help, propel that message forward.
Thanks, man. Likewise.
Yeah. So I look forward to our interactions in the future. And we'll see what happens from here.
Okay, man. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. See you next week.
Bye-bye.